Good evening. Welcome and thank you for being here. I call to order this joint meeting of the Mayor and City Council and the Mayor and City Council acting as the successor agency to the Redevelopment Agency of the City of San Bernardino. Ms. City Clerk, if you could please take the roll.
Councilmember Sanchez is somewhere in the room. Councilmember Ibarra?
Here.
Councilmember Shura? Councilmember Reynoso is absent. Councilmember Calvin?
Present.
Councilmember Alexander?
Here.
Mayor Valdivia is absent, and Mayor Pro Tem?
Present. Ms. City Clerk, do we have any, any public comments?
No, we do not.
No, okay, then we'll go ahead and proceed with the presentation of the American Rescue Plan Act. Check presentation, please.
Okay, we are, yep, I think we're, wow, these are still a little funky. I think we're ready. So Supervisor Baca, the floor is yours, sir.
Thank you, Rob, and honorable council members. It's really a pleasure and honor to be here in San Bernardino, and congratulations to your appointee to the new chief. So I just want to say congratulations to the city of San Bernardino. But the reason why I'm here today is we want to do a check presentation just to give you a little bit of background and context on it. So when the COVID hit us, the federal government gave ARPA money, American Relief Act money that was given to the entire community. I know that the city of San Bernardino received some. The county of San Bernardino received approximately $422 million. So what the board decided was to give each member money to distribute throughout their communities. And as the process went on, we started reaching out to different communities, and I was actually reached out to by the San Bernardino Pony League, and they said they wanted to do some improvements to Guadalupe Field. And I says, we got some ARPA money, I'd be glad to do that. I had conversations with Rob Field, we met with Public Works, and actually walked through Guadalupe Field and looked at doing some improvements. And for me, this is very, very personal for me, Guadalupe Field. For those of you who don't know, my father played fast pitch softball for many years. So I actually spent a lot of time in that field from the time I was 5 years old all the way up. But to have the opportunity to reinvest in San Bernardino and make improvements to the community, the snack bar, the bathrooms, the fencing, potentially even putting turf on the field. This is a great investment, especially out of COVID. There's a lot of social challenges right now, a lot of health and wellness. This is an investment in our kids, our families, and I know we have members here of the San Bernardino Pony League, but I just want to say it's an honor to do that. But we're not done with this. I know right now we're in negotiations. We want to help out Spiker Park, and we also have had a commitment, not a dollar amount yet, but San Manuel Band of Mission Indians also wants to make an investment right here in San Bernardino. And we're pleased to do this. It's an honor to do it. So on behalf of the County of San Bernardino, today we're going to present the check, but I want to also thank Congressman Aguilar for his vision and making sure that he took care of the Inland Empire. So we have a check for the City of San Bernardino present for $1 million. And I'd love to come up there and take a picture with you, and I'd like to invite the two of the board members from the San Bernardino Pony League to come on up, and if we can take a photo. I just want to say congratulations, San Bernardino, and we're not done helping you, and we look forward to working with your chief and doing great things. I know we have some flood channel challenges, and we want to work together to help you and deal with those issues. So thank you so much.
Thank you, Supervisor, for your strong advocacy of the City of San Bernardino. We greatly appreciate the partnership and the continued efforts of working together. Thank you, sir. Again, I'd like to reiterate our profound appreciation to the supervisors, the board, the congressman for our partnership and working together, and I look forward to continued efforts in working together. I appreciate the hard work that goes into by the supervisor. Thank you so much. At this time, I'll call to order closed session. I'll allow another 2 minutes here just to allow for some photos here. Okay, I'll call to order closed session. At this time, Ms. City Clerk, do we have any closed session public comments?
I have not received any speaker slips for closed session, and we do not have any remote speakers.
Okay, then at this time, we'll convene into closed session. Welcome, and thank you for being here. Oh. Council members, come on. No, they're... Thank you, everybody, for being here. I now convene the regular meeting of the Mayor and City Council, and the Mayor and City Council acting as the successor agency to the redevelopment agency of the City of San Bernardino. At this time, the City Clerk has an announcement to make.
Yes, thank you, Mayor Pro Tem. I just wanted to make a brief announcement to address some minor clerical error on tonight's agenda. Due to the unusual start time for the meeting agenda was erroneously refers to the entire meeting as a special meeting. The city's website correctly refers to the meeting as a regular meeting, and the agenda file itself correctly refers to the meeting as a regular meeting. In addition, the open session is set at a time and place consistent with regular meetings in accordance with Section 2.58.10 of the city's municipal code. The meeting was noticed in compliance with the Brown Act, and all public hearings were properly noticed. Thank you.
Thank you. At this time, we'll move on to the invocation and pledge. I invite Councilmember Damon Alexander to lead us in the invocation, and I'll ask Councilmember Fred Charette to lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance, please.
Shall we all stand? All right. Bow our heads. Dear Heavenly Father, Lord, we just want to thank you for what you do for us. Dear Heavenly Father, we don't take it for granted for what you, for walking into this place, Heavenly Father, for breathing, for, as we say, for a reasonable portion of health and strength. We thank you for that, Lord. Lord, right now we ask for a covering upon our city council members, our citizens, Heavenly Father, our city. We ask for that covering, Lord, that we may be, as Scripture says, be friendly to each other. Lord, we ask to be more neighborly, Lord, because we only know community comes with being friendly. So, Lord, right now we ask that. Lord, we ask for a special blessing of our troops abroad, Heavenly Father, that we fight for our country, Lord. Lord, we ask right now for a special blessing upon this council, where we may continue to move forward in the city's business. And we ask for our city employees, Lord. They are doing a fantastic job, Lord, and we continue to move forward with our city employees. As our city goes forth, Lord, be the banner, Jehovah Nishi. Go before us. Let everything be done in good, decent, and in order. And all saints of God say amen, amen, and amen.
Yesterday was 245th year of our glorious flag. And yesterday, of course, as many of you know or should know, was Flag Day. And again, it was 245 years ago that flag was established as our recognition for our country. So would you all join me as we salute this flag in our country? Ready? Begin.
Wasn't it the Army's birthday a couple of days ago? Wasn't it the Army's birthday a couple of days ago?
Thank you, council members. At this time, I'll recognize the city clerk to take the roll, please.
Councilmember
City clerk.
Sanchez.
Here.
Councilmember Ibarra. Present. Councilmember Charette. Here. Councilmember Reynoso is absent. Councilmember Calvin.
Present.
Councilmember Alexander.
Here.
Mayor Valdivia is absent today, and Mayor Pro Tem.
Present.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. Ms. City Attorney, is there anything to report from closed session?
Mayor Pro Tem, members of the council, and members of the public, we had 3 closed session item discussions this evening, but we do not have any reportable action.
Thank you for that. At this time, I'll recognize the city manager for the city manager's report. Mr. Field.
Thank you. And Marcus, if we could call up the report. I'll go through, there are quite a few slides here. I'll go through it fairly quickly. A lot of them are in reference to the 4th of July and the fireworks enforcement, so we'll cover that part last. Okay, let's go to the first slide. We have been very successful, as we saw tonight, in applying for and receiving grant funds for all kinds of projects across the city. For those of you who were not in the room, we tonight received a great big check from the county of American Rescue Plan Act funds, $1 million to go towards Guadalupe Park. There are more things coming, but we also, of course, got another $3.8 million for the Violence Intervention Program, and $120,000 for railroad safety and enforcement to the police department. Code enforcement, we are expanding our hours. We are hearing plenty of concerns expressed to us from the dais and from others. So we're expanding hours. As of now, we're starting at 11 a.m. to 5 p.m. on 9 p.m. on Fridays, 12 to 10 on Saturdays. We're going to be going to Wednesday, Saturday, 12 to 10, starting in August. And we're also doing several different types of special enforcement actions using our code enforcement team. We did have a piece of somebody snuck this in on me, but some community feedback, which is very positive. When someone like Aaron Brinker comes out and says this sort of thing, we think it's worthwhile letting the community know that it looks like things are going a little bit better. So always good to hear positive feedback from the community. Starlight Movie Nights in the Park. This is Lydia's first year. She's doing obviously a tremendous job. We have several movie in the park events this year. There will be more next year. This Friday, Tom and Jerry, Dan Sherrill's Park in Ward 6. So yes, 5 o'clock, and we are getting big crowds for these. So for the community members, please come out. And there are no ward boundaries when it comes to showing up for these events. Pitch Hit and Run at Fiscalini Field. 130 people, kids participated in Pitch Hit and Run on Saturday. Parks and Rec did that as well with Little League District 43 and with Major League Baseball. San Bernardino is celebrating Juneteenth. All different events across the city. We have 3 of them at city facilities: Delman Heights Community Center, Feldheim Library, and Rudy Hernandez Community Center. There's also going to be a big community Juneteenth celebration at San Bernardino Valley College on Saturday from 12 to 6. And not on the slide, privately promoted from a Cathedral of Praise on Del Rosa from 10 to 2. So there will be several different Juneteenth celebrations around the city of San Bernardino. Street dedication in honor of the original finest. There are 9 streets that are being named after San Bernardino's first 9 police officers up in the northwest portion of the city. They're near corner of Myers Road and Little League. And this is to say thanks to the police department and, obviously past, but also present. So it's a nice way of honoring the long history of the San Bernardino Police Department. Public Works. This is a little bit exciting. We're going to open bids later this month on connecting State Street. Councilmember Calvin. Actually, this is a center point of discussion at the Northwest PAC meeting just on Monday night. Really exciting development. Thank you, Public Works. Police Department conducted a multi-agency crime sweep. That was one of the first actions taken in conjunction with several other police departments, but it was one of the first things that happened under the command of our new chief, who we swore in officially earlier tonight, Chief Darren Goodman. 32 felony arrests, 15 guns taken off the streets, a lot of illegal substances, a couple stolen cars, and there are also 10 gang cards issued, so pretty big deal. All right, fireworks. We are heading into that season. The community, of course, has some concerns. Won't call anybody out in particular, although, well, maybe Harry Hatch, for his persistent and really meaningful advocacy on behalf of doing more to control fireworks. It's tough. It's a tough thing to do, but we will be posting this on our website so people know that this is the approach that the city is taking this holiday season to keep our city as safe as possible. We'll start with a description of what is legal. Obviously, safe and sane, as long as they're used in compliance with the directions that are provided with the safe and sane fireworks. Always with an adult present, so be safe. By the way, this is enforced both jointly by the police department and the San Bernardino County Fire Department through the Fire Protection District. They sort of have joint responsibility, although to a large degree, the fire department has a significant amount of responsibility. Anyway, a number of different guidelines provided for for using these things safely. What is illegal? Anything that flies through the air. Also, which would include anything that is combined, a legal firework that is combined with an illegal firework makes for an illegal firework. It doesn't go the other way. So, very important to follow the guidelines. An update on enforcement. As I said, the police department and fire department will be working in tandem to enforce our laws. First time violation, $1,000. Second time, $2,500. Third time, $3,000. So don't do it. It's going to cost you a great deal of money. We have a zero tolerance approach, especially on illegal fireworks. Past 2 weeks, the police department has already made some arrests and seized over 1,000 pounds of illegal fireworks. So good job, PD. Thank you. And a reminder from Animal Services, it wouldn't be an update without something from Chris Watson. Pets are very sensitive. So on the 4th of July and the days around it, just keep an eye on your pets, especially your dogs. They'll take off on you. And if you get a chance, microchip them before July 1st. A reminder, we need your help. Can't do it on our own. So here's the phone number to call. The non-emergency line, 909-383-5311. And you actually you'll get a reward if we catch somebody in the act after you've made that phone call. And that, Mayor Pro Tem, completes our update. I went through it as quickly as I could.
Let's repeat that number again for the public.
You want to go
I'm
through it
sure we're
again?
going to get a lot of calls from
All right,
leading up to
so the non-emergency number, 909-383-5311. That's the number to call. And
Thank
again,
you. I'm sure it'll be
$50
ringing
reward
off the hook.
if you make a report and it results in a conviction.
Thank you, sir. I appreciate it. At this time, I'll recognize council members for their council announcements, starting with Councilmember Sanchez, please.
Yes, we had the inaugural 5K run in downtown San Bernardino. That was Sunday, June 12th. It was well attended. I think there were over 100 people there. It was wonderful. And our very own Captain Francisco Hernandez of the police department, I think he got first place, but he was running, I think he was running like 7-minute miles. It goes really to show the type of dedication they have to their obligations in the city. They all stay really fit. He did it with I think that whole 5K with a smile on his face, showed everyone up and what our police officers are capable of doing here in the city. The next thing, our very own Chris Gonzalez, who's been hosting the Arts Walk for the last 2 years, has the latest reiteration of that. And that'll be this Saturday, June 18th, from 6 to 10 p.m. And the location is 349 Northeast Street, so it's downtown San Bernardino. And it's a beautiful event. If you haven't attended before, I would ask that you attend, because if you attend once, you'll attend again. It's a great event. It really brings downtown to life, and there's a lot of good feeling, and there's plenty of good food and small trinkets to buy. So I encourage everyone to go ahead and attend that. I think that's it for now. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilmember. Councilmember Ibarra with the second ward.
Thank you, Mayor Pro Tem. Just want to announce on Wednesday, June 8th, I attended the Valencia and Paris Hill Neighborhood Association combined community meeting at the Denny's restaurant on Valencia and Highland. Very good information was presented to us by the Red Cross volunteers that we have within our community, as well as the Quality of Life team came out and discussed some of the concerns and issues that they're facing right now with clearing out the homeless encampments within our city. So it was very well attended. Other meetings that we have coming up, I want to thank my colleagues, Councilmember Figueroa and Councilmember Alexander, for being there for the community on Saturday at the Paris Hill Senior Center's Summer Barbecue and Dance. I wasn't able to attend, but thank you to my colleagues for being there to show support for our senior citizens. That was this past Saturday. As our city manager pointed out, this Friday there's going to be the Movies in the Park with Tom and Jerry being presented at Anne Sherrill Park. It's a 6th ward, but I really want to watch that movie too, so you might see me there. Next up, what we have here, I have a lot of items. We're not going to meet for a month, so I'm going to try to get you guys all the information. This Saturday, we are going to have those 3 community Juneteenth events. I will be at the one at Valley College as well. I was invited, so I'll be there saying hi to constituents and just enjoying the environment with everybody. Next up, we have, I want to say next Wednesday, the 25th. Sorry. No, okay, it's Saturday. Saturday, 2 events with, we're going to have a community cleanup at the, with Dr. Nag, and it says to contact Dan Durain for details. I hope I said his name correct. 909 is his phone number, 883-4039, if you want to get involved in doing a cleanup for the Dr. Nag neighborhood. I will go there as well, because I used to do cleanups before I became a council member. I enjoy those. And also, if you have any documents that you need shredding, also Saturday, June 25th at Paris Hill Park, they're doing the document shredding and mulch giveaway. So if you are planting at home and need some mulch or for your landscape, come out Saturday, June 25th between 8 and 1 at Paris Hill Park. The address 1135 East Highland Avenue at the main lot. And since we won't see you guys until after 4th of July, please be safe out there, and we'll see you at the next council meeting at the 3rd week of July. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Councilmember Fred Schredt of the 4th
Thank you, Mayor
Ward.
Pro Tem, and thank you for announcing Dr. Nag's cleanup. My friend Sandra, thank you very much. And they do that, I think, monthly, and it's a good group. I don't have any real specific messages or meetings that I've attended or that are coming up, but I want to reiterate and welcome Chief Darren Goodman. Many of you probably weren't here earlier in the evening. We had a swearing in and a little reception. We're looking for great things out of this new chief, and I just wanted to recognize him personally from the dais tonight. And then as far as fireworks are concerned, I want to continue to reiterate the importance of, number one, calling in any concerns you have or people that are violating our ordinances and laws. The city manager mentioned that anything that goes in the air, it's been described to me as illegal firework is anything that goes in the air and goes boom. So a sparkler, of course, doesn't go in the air and doesn't go boom, so that's one thing, but they all need to be below the 210. And of course, my ward is up against the foothills, across the north and east end of the foothills, so please stay out of the 4th Ward with fireworks on the 4th of July, the 1st through the 4th. Stay below the 210 freeway, and then you're welcome back anytime after that. So it's a serious problem, and we just need to really be taking a zero tolerance approach to these illegal fireworks that go on throughout this region, and it's amazing. If you go up on the foothills and watch this valley from Palm Springs to Riverside, you'd think it was the 4th of July. It's amazing, the illegal fireworks that go off constantly for days on end. So please adhere to our fireworks laws. It's very important. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Councilmember Calvin.
Thank you, Mayor Pro Tem. Good evening, San Bernardino. Yes, how are you tonight? It's a great day in the city of San Bernardino. We have a brand new police chief and we welcome him. We just finished with our elections, and I want to congratulate all of my colleagues on their successful re-elections to the council. We're going to be doing some great work going forward, and so I'm very excited that I get to continue working with these great folks up here. I want to give a shout out to the Arroyo Valley class of 2022 graduates. And I had some very specific ones from Acoma Unity Center. They're listening, so I got to go on and shout them out. Ibn and Alicia Nolly, Marissa Collins, Alicia, and these scholars have worked tremendously hard. You all know through the COVID how difficult it was for them to reach graduation today, so I want to celebrate them. And I also attended Hardy Brown Charter School's graduation today where my very own granddaughter, Adaya Famelo, graduated from kindergarten. Yay! I want to give a shout out to the Green Smiles team, Jaquetta Green and Antoinette. We had the National Negro League celebration at the 66ers Stadium this past week, Friday night. It was a wonderful event. We did also, I think the majority of us attended Wildwood Pancakes Breakfast too, right? Wasn't that last since then? Want to give out a shout out to that neighborhood association while they're still healing from losing Tony. That's a great event, you guys. We got to continue to celebrate. I want to let everybody know that the memorial service for Miss Beverly Earl of Catholic Charities, who served us in our city for well over 40 years, her services will be tomorrow, June 16th at 10 a.m. at the 66er Stadium. All are welcome, and I want to thank the city staff, too, for allowing us for participating and allowing us to make that happen. I want to thank the Northwest Project Area Community Organization for hosting Chief Darren Goodman last night. On Monday, and Public Works, Daniel Hernandez for coming out with us. Thank you, Daniel, our new director, City Manager Field. We were presenting some of the new developments that are happening in 6th Ward. As you saw, State Street expansion, which is humongous. That is a 17-year project that has been sitting on our capital improvement books for 17 years, that was placed there by Councilwoman Betty Dean Anderson. And so I'm very humbled to be able to have that project finally be out to bid, which means that State Street exit off the 210 traveling east, which drops down right inside of our community on the west side, will now be opening up all the way to Baseline. That's our first phase. This will allow more development to come into our ward. There's a lot of developers who own space in the city right there in Ward 6, but it made it very difficult when you get off on State Street and you can't just go down to a main corridor like Baseline. So you guys be looking out for all of that new stuff coming to Ward 6, and I thank the city staff for their dedicated time. Yes, give it up. Ward 6 is having a movie night. Movie night is going to be on Friday night, and we will be there. Am I mistaken? Is it Friday? Okay, great. Movie night will be Friday night, and we are showing Tom and Jerry, as Councilwoman Ibarra mentioned. There are going to be plenty of vendors, so I just asked Park and Rec Director, do I got to get the vendors for us? Because I saw a lot of vendors at the Gentleman Heights and the other park. They're like, no, we got you. So come on out. Bring your lawn chairs, bring your children, bring your family, bring your blankets, and we're going to go to the movies. I'll meet you guys out there. Community gardens are popping up all over our city, and they need your support because weeding takes a lot of work. So it's one thing to reap the harvest and pick the fruit and pick the vegetables, but it's constant weeding, constant tilling. Figure out which ones you want to go to. Music Changing Lives has one, Acoma Unity Center has one, the Garcia Center has a beautiful one, and there's one downtown as well. Come on out, bend over a little bit and pick up some weeds, okay? It's hard work. But last but not least, I want to let everybody know that we all are working on improving the housing situation in our city. I was fortunate enough to go with our Assistant City Manager, Eddie Evelyn, and our 6th Ward Planning Commissioner, Dolores Armstead, and a host of other community members, and we went to Orange County to look at some other affordable housing projects that are beautiful, projects that are serving our veterans, projects are serving our seniors, multi-use family, and also TAD programs. So when the children that have to exit out of foster home and don't have anywhere to go, they're also building housing for them. So that is wonderful, and we're looking to bring that all back to the city of San Bernardino. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Councilmember. I love the energy, by the way. Councilmember Alexander from the 7th Ward.
From the what ward?
From the 7th.
Oh, the great 7th Ward. Okay, thank you very much. I appreciate, welcome everybody. What we've been doing this month on June 5th, our very own San Bernardino Youth Wind Ensemble performed their inaugural conference at Valley College. It was 17 youth that got up there, and they did their mostest. They were like a professional wind ensemble. Those youth really did a fantastic job, and it's the San Bernardino Youth Wind Ensemble. Did I say San Bernardino Youth Wind Ensemble? Yeah. Okay, you guys are like, what? Yeah, it was a great performance. They deserve it. They did a great job. On June 8th, the 7th Ward Commissioners Appreciation Day. I appreciate my commissioners. There's one hanging right there. We had our appreciation at the 66ers Ball Stadium. We played baseball. Every time we have an appreciation at 66ers, they always win. So we told them, hey, we're going to have one every night for the rest of the season. On June 10th, I was a speaker at MHS, Mental Health Systems. They had what they call their Tour de Recovery. And that's where they raise money for recovering folks that have substance abuse. MHS helps us with our outreach with our homeless program, and they help raise $40,000 for those in recovery. So it was a very, very well fundraiser that we attended. Also on that same night, like Council Member Calvin said, I was also down at the baseball game at 66ers. The 66ers gave out some leadership awards and stuff like that. So Councilmember Calvin got one, I got one for what we do in the public, how we show ourselves, our character. So the Do Nothing Council is really doing something. So we were there for that. On June 11th, like Councilmember Ibarra said, we were at the barbecue. That was Councilmember Figueroa and I. We were there. We did a little dancing, a little soft shoe with somebody, 50 years older than I am, but that's okay because that's what it's all about with them seniors. And when we were hanging out there, you guys notice a pattern here? Council member with this one, council member with that one. We're all hanging out together. We're all working together. You notice the pattern? Just shake your head like that. That's all you got to do. Yeah, that's it. That's right. On June 12th, Councilmember Sanchez and I, we ran in the race together downtown. He ran, I walked. That's the name of the game. My wife and I, we were out there. We raced for Rewritten, and Rewritten is also about fatherhood and those without fathers and the underserved community. So that's what we're raising money for that. So Councilman Sanchez, he was running. Let's see here. June 14th was yesterday. I was out at Crafton Hills. They were celebrating their 50th year at Crafton Hills, so I was out there representing the city because a lot of our residents go to Crafton Hills. My son went to Crafton Hills at their fire department. He's an EMT, so I was out there representing the city and saying thank you very much for serving the San Bernardino community. Coming up, June 22nd will be employee recognition breakfast for San Bernardino. Our employee recognition, so we're going to recognize our employees. That's what we have. June 18th will be Arrowview and Wilson. They're going to have a combined neighborhood association meeting on Campos Santos Park. That's at 27th and D at 8 a.m. It says 8 a.m. 11 a.m. Sorry, 11 a.m. And it is. Did I say that Wildwood breakfast? Do we talk about how all of us came? We showed up together again. You guys getting the pattern there? All of us doing stuff together? Okay, I just want to check. All right. On another note, it's Pride Month this month. Yeah, right. Okay, it's Pride Month. And it's also Juneteenth, and City Manager and Director Anderson, I just want to know, why haven't we got anything about Pride Month or Juneteenth, the city employees, or, because I went to last month was AA, Asian American Pacific Islander Month, and we didn't get anything about that, the city, or so now I'm asking, why haven't we received anything from our DEI guy? So can I get an answer? You ain't got to answer me over verbally, but an email or something, why we haven't received anything from Pride Month or Juneteenth. Okay? Thank you very much. And Merry Christmas to all you. Happy Father's Day to all the fathers. Roo, all the fathers. Get it up there, guys. Happy Father's Day to all of you.
Indeed. Councilmember Alexander, I don't think anybody can blame you for walking the 5K after the way I saw you dancing the day before at the barbecue and dance. I burned a lot of calories that day, my friend. So on that note, I'd like to say thank you to the Parks and Rec Senior Services for putting together. It was a lot of work to put together that barbecue and dance. Thank you to Katie and to Alex. I know you guys did. And to all the volunteers who put in so much work into putting that together. One thing I learned is that those seniors love to dance. And I enjoyed seeing Councilmember Alexander out there on the dance floor too. It was pretty fun. Also, thank you to our Police Officers Association for a contribution as well in providing supplies. Thank you to everybody else who provided some of the supplies that were used there for that day as well. We did have a couple of guests from the police department, Sergeants Loera, Luna, and Lieutenant Oldendorf. Thank you for your presence and engaging the community and all the seniors there at the dance as well. So thank you for that. The Rancho West Neighborhood Association will be having their next meeting on, I'm sorry, give me 1 second here. It's the last Thursday of the month, June 30th at 6 p.m. It will be held at 2122 Chestnut Street. It's a different location this time around, but that will be for the Rancho West Neighborhood Association. And also everybody's, I'd like to extend a very warm welcome to our new police chief, Goodman. Thank you for everybody who came out today. My apologies, I wasn't able to be in attendance. I had to be somewhere else at that moment. But a very warm welcome. I've heard he's made a pretty big splash already in the city with the multi-agency sweep that happened about a week or so ago. So thank you for welcome, a very warm welcome to you. And in that same thought is what I'd like to extend my thoughts to the families of and anybody affected by the two officers in El Monte who lost their lives, the ultimate sacrifice that they made, along with the California Highway Patrol officer as well that was affected, and their families most of all. It's a grim reminder of the sacrifices that they make, along with their families and their families that they make every time they put on a uniform and serve their public. I know that they do it out of the love for public service, and for that I'm eternally grateful. But my thoughts will be with the family members that were affected by the loss of those officers, and that includes their fellow brothers and sisters in law enforcement as well. So I extend my condolences to them as well. At this time, we'll go ahead and move on to, we're doing presentations at this time, so let's see, we have a resolution for Dean McVeigh. I have a certificate here. And are we going to do a presentation up here? I'm not sure if Dean McVeigh is present or not, but I'll read this into the record. This is a resolution.
Mayor Pro Tem?
Yes.
Mayor Valles, former Mayor Valles, is here representing. She's the incoming president of the symphony, so she's going to accept in his behalf. Yes.
Okay, I will read this first, and then, if okay, we'll take a picture right immediately following. This is a resolution of the Mayor and City Council recognizing and honoring Dean McVeigh, President Board of Directors of the San Bernardino Symphony Orchestra. Whereas the mission of the San Bernardino Symphony Association is to foster a love of music, excite the spirit, and enrich its diverse community and region through live orchestral performance and music education. The role of the association's board of directors is to support and advance the organization's mission through ethical policymaking, active ambassadorship, and sustainability-focused fiduciary oversight. And whereas Dean McVeigh has served as the president of the San Bernardino Symphony Orchestra Board of Directors since 2017 and as a committee chair and association board member since 2004. During his presidency, Dean McVeigh has worked tirelessly toward the advancement of the association's mission, achieving previously unreached heights of artistic and civic engagement. Dean McVeigh led the association through an international conductor search, resulting in the placement of world-renowned maestro Anthony Partner. During his tenure, the annual budget of the association tripled, now allowing the provision of more performances and artistic education experiences than at any time in its history. And whereas during his tenure, the association adopted robust diversity and inclusion policies and practices, resulting in a more representative board and orchestra. During his tenure, the association received a $2 million bequest, which, now conservatively invested, provides sustainable operations funding. And whereas during his tenure, an annual $75,000 contribution to the association was made a part of the City of San Bernardino's annual budget. During his tenure, the association creatively dealt with the challenges of the COVID-19 pandemic, creating professionally produced digital concerts to uplift music lovers from around the world, including students in the San Bernardino City Unified School District, which was gifted each of the 3 concert videos for their classroom usage. I'm sorry, lost my place here. Whereas Dean McVeigh has provided invaluable insight, perspective, and guidance to the association, creating a culture of collaboration and consensus-driven decision-making to the benefit of the entire region. Dean McVeigh's desire to expand orchestral repertoire to better represent the diverse tastes of the region is, today, a deeply rooted part of the culture of San Bernardino Symphony Association. Now, therefore, be it resolved that the City of San Bernardino acknowledges and extends its gratitude to Dean McVeigh for his commitment, dedication, and invaluable contributions as president of the San Bernardino Symphony Association and as a community champion regional artistic leader. Presented this 15th day, June 22. Thank you very much. Ms. Weiss, if you'd like, with the entire council, it'd be okay if we just take a picture up here and as we present this certificate down there? Okay. I'd like to invite the council members and anybody else, please, to join me down at the bottom to present this. At this time, if you'd like to say a few words, please. Thank you.
Well, first of all and foremost, I want to thank you all for this recognition. But now to all the people of San Bernardino, I say we need to be very proud because many cities in this country have lost their symphony because they have not had the support of the community. The San Bernardino Symphony is close to its 100th anniversary, and it has survived because of all the people in San Bernardino that contribute to the arts. We recognize that arts is the heart of a city, and supporting it helps us all to grow together. So thank you very much to the council for recognizing this. Thank you.
Thank you, Mayor Weiss. Next up, we have a proclamation for Juneteenth. I have the San Bernardino Juneteenth Committee, please. I'm pretty confident that was you guys back there, but I'm going to read this first. I'm going to read this first, and then I'll welcome you to come up and do the same thing with, we'll take a picture right after this. I'm sorry, and the entire council as well, please. Proclamation of the Mayor and City Council recognizing and honoring Juneteenth celebration freedom, June 18th, 2022 as Juneteenth. Whereas President Abraham Lincoln signed the Emancipation Proclamation on January 1st, 1863, declaring the slaves in Confederate territory free, paving the way for the passing of the 13th Amendment, which formally abolished slavery in the United States of America. And whereas word about the singing of the Emancipation Proclamation was delayed some 2.5 years to June 19, 1865, in reaching authorities and African Americans in the South and Southwestern United States. And whereas Emancipation Day observations are held on different days in different states in the South and Southwest and in other parts of the nation. And whereas June 19th has a special meaning to African Americans and is called Juneteenth, combining the words June and 19th, and has been celebrated by the African American community for over 150 years. And Whereas the annual Juneteenth celebration in the city of San Bernardino will take place on June 18th, 2022. Now therefore be it resolved that the city of San Bernardino Mayor and City Council do hereby declare June 18th, 2022 as Juneteenth. We urge all citizens to become more aware of the significance of this celebration in African American history and in the heritage of our nation and city. Presented this 15th day of June 2022. I'd like to ask the San Bernardino Juneteenth Committee to please join the council and anybody else who'd like to join the picture as well. This is a great celebration. We should all be involved in celebrating together. Don't be shy, don't be shy.
Oh, no. Did it already. Sure. Good?
Hey, everybody. I appreciate it. Appreciate it. My name is Edwin Johnson, and I'm the president of the Juneteenth Committee of San Bernardino. And we just want to thank you guys for really acknowledging this, because it's very important not only for the African American community, but it's important for all cultures to understand what happened in 1865. And so what we're going to do with this event that we're putting on is we're going to educate, we're going to empower, and we're going to inspire the community to come together, because we have about 14 or 15 nonprofits out here working together to make this happen. So we want to thank the city for this partnership, and furthermore, our further partnerships that we're going to have for this event. Thank you. Thanks. I want to let the VP speak also.
Hi, guys. Just briefly, I'm Ronnie. I'm the vice president. I just want to say thank you to everybody that supported this community event. This is us, like they always say. This is for all of us, not just us. So come out and celebrate. It is a celebration. Come out and enjoy that Saturday. We'll see you there.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Let's see. Next up, I have here item number 4, a proclamation for National Parks and Recreation Month. Okay. All right. I have here, okay. I'm going to definitely put my reading skills to use here tonight. I have a proclamation of the Mayor and City Council recognizing and honoring July 2022. July is National Parks and Recreation Month, a lifetime of discovery. Whereas Parks and Recreation is an integral part of communities throughout this country, including the city of San Bernardino. Parks and Recreation promotes health and wellness, improving the physical and mental health of people who live near parks, and whereas Parks and Recreation promotes time spent in nature, which positively impacts mental health by increasing cognitive performance and well-being, and alleviating illnesses such as depression, attention deficit disorders, and Alzheimer's. And whereas Parks and Recreation is an integral part of communities throughout this country, including the city of San Bernardino. Parks and Recreation promotes health and I think I just read this right now. Sounds repetitive. Parks and Recreation promotes health and wellness, improving the physical and mental health of people who live near parks. Parks and Recreation encourages physical activities by providing space for popular sports, hiking trails, swimming pools, and many other activities designed to promote active lifestyles. And whereas Parks and Recreation is a leading provider of healthy meals, nutrition services, and education. Parks and Recreation programming and education activities such as out-of-school time programming, youth sports, and environmental education are critical to childhood development. And whereas Parks and Recreation increases a community's economic prosperity through increased property values, expansion of the local tax base, increased tourism, the attraction and retention of businesses, and crime reduction. Parks and Recreation is fundamental to the environmental well-being of our community. And whereas the U.S. House of Representatives has designated July as Parks and Recreation Month, the City of San Bernardino recognizes the benefits derived from parks and recreation resources. Now, therefore, be it resolved that the City of San Bernardino Mayor and City Council do hereby designate the month of July 2022 as Parks and Recreation Month in the City of San Bernardino. Presented this 15th day of June 2022.
I want to thank you so much for recognizing July as National Parks and Recreation Month. As the community has seen, as our council has seen, and as our staff and police and everyone has seen, we've really started to grow and have a new energy in parks, recreation, and community services. And so I want to take the time to just give my team a round of applause for all of the work that they're doing. A lot of people don't recognize the importance of what Parks and Recreation can be. For some, it can just be going out to a green space. For others, it can be a life-saving moment. So please just make sure that you don't just take it for July, that you take it every single day. Don't take it for granted when you walk outside and you see some green grass and some blue sky and something for you to do that's healthy. We are here for you to provide those services. So we make sure that we get that input from the community, and we make sure that we provide awesome events like our movie nights and our concerts. But we can't do it without the village that is our city. So thank you to all the departments that support Parks and Recreation. Thank you to our Assistant City Manager and our City Manager for always supporting our crazy, innovative ideas. And thank you to all of you who participate in our programs. And I hope that all of you really enjoyed July.
Thank you very much. We have next the last presentation by Councilmember Damon Alexander of the 7th Ward for Citizen of the Month.
Right. Is Johnny here? Where are you, Johnny? Right here, Johnny? Go to that podium right over there, my good brother. Come on, Kim. Where's Kim? Come on, girlfriend. Come on now. Council members are already staring at me. They're looking at me real strange. How you doing? Nice meeting you finally. Well, this is a Citizen of the Month. Every council member gets a Citizen of the Month, and they go by months, which I found out. So either you get one or two a year, but you only get one a month. So Miss Kim came and she emailed me some time ago, said, hey, I would like to recommend Johnny Servant for Citizen of the Month. And we've been trying to get this done because it goes in order of council, 1, 2, 3, 4, just to let you all know how it goes. And he's been waiting 3 months for this now. So we finally got it. We finally got him in, and so I appreciate him. Appreciate you, and thank you for nominating Johnny Servant. And just a little bit about, I'll keep it brief because it's a lot here, but I'll keep it brief. Kim said Johnny is a vendor who gives away children's toys during Christmas time, my favorite time of the year, which has probably got my attention. One of his vendors includes professional pictures with Santa Claus. Johnny hosts a toy drive to collect unwrapped toys for children during the winter season. He donates all the toys to the nonprofits. Also, see here, Johnny's the owner of Taco Junkies, a catering truck in San Bernardino. Yes, he does. On numerous occasions, Johnny has leveraged his clients to gain their support and help feeding the underserved of the community free tacos. He also donates all his services, some of his services, to nonprofits for raising money for their causes. Johnny has maintained a great rapport with the community, his clients, organizations. Johnny and other passions is the performing arts. He has been in several videos with celebrities such as Fergie. Really? Yeah. Fergie? All right, bro. Fergie. And he has been in commercial with Levi's and Nike. Levi commercial in particular was played throughout Super Bowl. What number is that, 33?
It was in 2000.
Yeah, 33. So that's amazing. It's well worth it. I'm glad that you're here. I'm glad what you do for the children. I'm glad what you do for the community. We just need 10,000 more of you, and we'll be okay. Thank you very much.
I'm working on it.
You're working on it? Thank you very much.
Thank you for having me.
You got 2 minutes.
Okay. I mean, I didn't prepare a speech or anything like that, but I did first. I want to thank Kim Morales for nominating me. I want to thank my beautiful family and friends for being here with me. And, you know, I save taco. I mean, I'm a taco vendor here in the city of San Bernardino, Taco Junkies, Vato serving tacos. I'm that Vato. And we're saving lives one taco at a time. Thank you, everybody.
Don't be shy. You started this. You're welcome. And I'm up next in another 7 months, so any 7th Ward residents up here, email me.
Thank you both. At this time, we're going to move on to public comments. Public comments will be heard in person. Speakers will be heard first, followed by remote speakers. If you are speaking remotely, please mute any devices to avoid feedback. Just as a reminder, we do have both sides available for public speakers. I'll name off a few if you'd like to just start lining up as your name is called, please. The first speaker we have here, and I apologize, I'm not clear on it's Makai, followed by Treasurer Ortiz, followed by David Friedman. Makai. Not present? Okay, moving on. Treasurer Ortiz, followed by David Friedman, followed by John Schollenberger.
Good evening, San Bernardino. The first thing that I want to do is congratulate Councilman Sanchez, Ibarra, and Charette on your wins. I have to say I'm very, very happy to see this council stay and continue to work together, because for the first time in a long time, we do have a cohesive group. And the other thing I want to say is mission accomplished, y'all. John Valdivia is not coming back as mayor. And that was the first and primary goal of my run, is to make sure, and especially over these last 18 months, that our community was aware of who we had in office and who we could no longer keep in office. And now, let's take this moment and enjoy it. Doesn't mean we're taking our foot off the pedal. It doesn't mean we will not continue to expose those who choose to do wrong. We will hold people accountable. We will be transparent. And we will continue to disassemble the cronyism, the nepotism, and the favoritism that has led to the corruption that still exists. But we do have better people in place, because what we will not do as a community is go backwards. What we will not do is relive the past that has failed us. Because what we have in my very now favorite person, Mr. Robert Field, who has shown in this last year what it looks like when you don't work with the community, and then what praise looks like when you do work with us. When you are able to retain and bring some of the most talented directors this city has seen in a very long time. Because what we could tell today, for those who came to this swearing in, was there was a lightness in this community and in the city itself. That there are people who are ready for the positivity. Now, does that mean we'll never talk about the bad things? Absolutely not. That's not what we do. But what we will do is praise what's good. And this is a good moment. Chief Goodman is a good moment. Park and Rec, Letty Gutfield, Chris Watson. Good moments. And so thank you all. This is how we're going to change for the better, by exposing the bad and taking it out and letting you guys do what you do best. Be the subject matter experts. Lead us in the implementation of goodness, and make sure that we only select those who are qualified to lead and who want to lead in the best interest of all of us. None of us are going anywhere. We're only getting better and stronger together. So thank you guys. Very good night. Glad to see that chair's empty, because that's how this was supposed to go. Thank you.
Thank you. Next we have David Friedman, followed by John Schollenberger, followed by Harry Hatch. David Friedman. Okay. Move on to John Schollenberger, followed by Harry Hatch.
Good evening. It's a moment of recognition for me. For 3 years consecutively, 18 months, Treasurer Ortiz has been down at this council and informing the public of what was going on down here. She came down here and exposed corruption and made people aware of things that if she hadn't have done that consistently, nobody would have known what was going on down here, including me. But I was down here standing with her shoulder to shoulder, watching the stuff go on in real time. I tried to be diplomatic about what was going on. She chose the right path, which is telling the truth. And Treasurer Ortiz, if you hadn't have done that, and if you hadn't have run for mayor, John Valdivia would be elected again to another term, without any question. And I'm not a supporter of his, but he had the money, and if nobody would have known about it, he would have just sailed right into another term. So I want to say thank you, Treasurer Ortiz, from the bottom of my heart, for the work that you've done for this community and bringing awareness that otherwise we would have never known about. You're a champion of truth, and I'm proud to call you my friend. Now, what I don't support political terrorism and narcissism in city government. I don't participate, and I don't appreciate, and I don't do any of that. And I stand beside victims of workplace harassment. I stand united with them. That's where I stand on the issues. I want to go forward, not backwards. We deserve better, and we have a good council now that's going to work together. I'm pleased with this council, and I see the cohesiveness. And I'm looking forward to better days ahead. San Bernardino deserves this. So to me, it's time for change, and I'm glad to see that change coming. But like Treasurer says, we're going to be watching every space. We're going to be there. We're going to be, if you want to walk the straight and narrow and do the right thing, we're going to be with you. If you don't want to do the right thing for the community and the people of San Bernardino, we're just going to call you out. That's all there is to it. So again, Treasurer Ortiz, I am so proud of the work that you've done, and I thank you from the bottom of my heart.
Thank you. Next, we have Harry Hatch, followed by Dolores Armstead, followed by Jim Penman. Mr. Harry Hatch.
Thank you, Mayor Pro Tem, Council, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Harry Hatch, Ward 7. I'd like to talk to you about fireworks. We got the thing passed, but now you got to know what it's going to do and what still needs to be done. Fireworks still are illegal all the time. Safe and sane are still allowed from the 1st through the 4th in San Bernardino. Fireworks are classified as a Part 1.4 explosive, whether they be safe and sane or whether they be unlawful. Now, San Bernardino City Police Department expects to spend somewhere in the neighborhood of $179,682 to enforce fireworks this year. The 10% that they're going to get back in item number 29 on your consent calendar will be approximately $117,360, which leaves us in deficit $62,321 for the enforcement of all fireworks. It's not quite right yet. We need to do some things about that. But in doing those, we also have to look at the resolution 2022-128, which you're going to be accepting tonight and reading. Number 6 indicates in the resolution that no significant, effective enhancement of our air quality is done by fireworks. I would disagree with that enormously. The City Council is saying that there is no AQMD problem by the use of fireworks. I would like to think that you would remove that one portion of that resolution because it does not state the truth. Thank you very much.
Thank you, sir. Next, we have Dolores Armstead, followed by Jen Penman, and then followed by Robert Porter. Dolores Armstead.
Good evening, Mayor and Council. I am again advocating for staffing assistance for our council members. Maybe it was in the budget and I missed it when I looked at it, but it needs to be considered. They need help. They need help so they can serve us better. Our city has a population of more than 220,000 people, which means they are each responsible for answering about 30,000 people each, and they can't do it alone. So I'm advocating, please get some assistance for them, for each one individually, so they can serve us better. And that's my number one. Number two, about the old City Hall, what are we doing with it? It's been there how many years? It's vacant. It's taking my tax dollars, your tax dollars to upkeep it. There was an engineering study back then. Has there been a new engineering study? When the building was built, it was built to seismic code. So what's going on? Can the city move back in? Can it be repaired so they can move back in? It is past time we do something with the building. It is wasting our tax dollars. It's an iconic building, and we can't even go into it. The same thing actually needs to be said about the hotel across the street. What are we doing with these buildings? It's making our city look bad, the fact that they're empty. Finally, I want to thank the people for voting, those who came out to vote. Remember, we got to do it again in November. Do your homework. Make our electeds accountable. People, you have the power. To not vote is giving your power away. And there's entities that are depending on you not voting. You did a good job. Do it again in November. Hope to see y'all soon.
Thank you. Next, we have Jim Penman, followed by Robert Porter, and then Christian Shaughnessy. Mr. Penman.
I want to congratulate council members Sanchez, Ibarra, and Charette for their election victories. You're back in, and we trust that you're going to serve us well. I also want to thank all of those people who turned out to vote on June 7. We had, unfortunately, our usual low turnout for San Bernardino, but we thank those of you who took the time to vote. I had the opportunity to phone my former colleague and current opponent, Ms. Tran, and congratulate her on her lead. And being the gracious lady that she is, we had a very pleasant conversation. I also want to take a moment to thank all of you who supported me, those of you who voted for me, those of you who walked with me, those of you who put signs in your yard, those of you who asked your friends to vote for me. We wouldn't be where we are today but for you. It was our goal to get into the runoff, and we're there, and now we have a new election ahead of us. I also want to mention that we are all thankful that the adult bicyclist who struck Mayor Baez's car was not injured, and that Mayor Baez, of course, was not injured. We're pleased that the investigation done by the San Bernardino Police Department and the evidence they gathered showing the paint transfer from the bicycle to Mayor Baez's vehicle, which showed that the bicycle struck Mayor Baez's car, not the other way around. And you may wonder why I mention this. In addition to being thankful no one was hurt, it's because someone attempted to make a political moment of it and put a statement on social media claiming that the reverse had happened. That was not what happened. The physical evidence verified Mayor Baez's statement as to what did occur. So we move on. We have, what, about 4.5 months before the next election in November. Elections can be fun. They can be troublesome. But I've been on both sides, winning and losing. I much prefer to win than to lose. But I will tell you, San Bernardino is worth fighting for. And my last comment, which might surprise some of you, and but I'm going to say it anyway, I have to join with those who want to thank Dr. Ortiz for the exposure of a very serious problem this city had. And I agree that but for her actions, we might have had a very different turnout of the election results on June 7. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Next, we have Robert Porter, followed by Christian, and I apologize if I'm not pronouncing this correctly, Shaughnessy. Robert Porter.
Mayor Pro Tem, council, good people. Oh, the primaries are over, but low turnout. So we need to do more outreach in getting people to vote. I mean, these numbers are low. I've heard all kinds of jokes about like ASB presidents for high schools getting more votes. I think Teddy threw that out there. But, you know, like we need to really get these votes. We have a lot of people in this city, and we're not engaging them enough to get them to come out and vote. So we need to do more as a group here and as a council. And I like the calmness in all your faces. I've seen you all smile today. It feels good to see you guys happy up there. So something's already different. A weight has already been lifted. And positive things. I've spent the last 2 weekends downtown. I went to see Mr. Ramos speak at Viva la Boba. Had a couple bobas and enjoyed myself. Got to hear some good state politics, and it felt safe. It felt calm, and it was good. Then this weekend we went and watched Jurassic Park over at the movie theater. You know, we took the grandkids over there. They're running around and we're racing, and it was clean and it was nice, and The movie theater, you know, it was nice and cool because it was hot out there. So that felt good too. With the Arts and Historical Preservation Commission, we're going to start giving out these grants soon with the $100,000. But there's also another component to the Arts and Historical Preservation Commission, the history. So what I'd like to bring up is more fixing of our monuments, cleaning them, replacing the brass plaques that were stolen with granite ones. You know, we may even be able to put some of your all names on some of these, maybe make some new monuments, right? This is the reason why. In 100 years, your name will still be on that monument. And it's a better legacy than even any kind of legislation you put out there that can be changed the next term. So I'd also like to mention that our neighborhood association meetings with Valencia and Paris Hill are going well as a joint meeting. Officer Gray has been very informative. It was great to see you, Councilwoman Ibarra, at our meeting. And I hope more of us get involved and start joining our neighborhood associations and really finding out what's going on in our community. And thank you very much, team.
Thank you, Mr. Porter. Next, we have Christian Shaughnessy, followed by Ronald Donis.
All right. Good evening, sisters and brothers. My name is Christian Shaughnessy. It's a pleasure to come on down and see everybody once again. First off, I'd like to offer my congratulations to the two people who have made it to the mayoral runoff, Mr. Penman and Sister Helen Tran, and along with the other members of the council, distinguished council, who have made it on down against a certain faction challengers who had a certain vibe, a certain mayoral candidate who's no longer there who they were supporting. And I know for a fact that the city is going to continue to do good things. I have come here in particular to speak on the issue of downtown redevelopment and that of pedestrianization. And if you'll beg my pardon for perhaps taking some of the jovial atmosphere out of the room right now, this is something that means a lot to me because when I attended Pacific High School in what seems like perhaps a lifetime ago, there were people my age who were struck and killed by cars in the city who passed away, who were never able to return to their families because of the lack of good infrastructure in the city. So I think it is a marvelous and blessed thing to go and celebrate our re-elections, go and be happy about election results, but nonetheless there's still momentous issues in the city, the issues of a community benefits agreement, the issues of the low voter turnout that was mentioned, the issues of violent crime and violence intervention programs, and so many other issues that I think it's important for us to celebrate and take joy in those things that we definitely can, but also to be aware of even the small issues that bedevil us. And I think that one of those things that's tremendously underrated is actually building those sidewalks, actually building those bicycle lanes, and taking care of those minor issues in the city that may not be the sexiest or most magnificent things to talk about, say in public, but that can save lives. And so with that said, I'd like to thank everybody here for giving me the invitation to speak, and we're going to get this done. Because this city is strong. We've been through, frankly, worse things, and the city will turn around and be better. Because we have that strength and we have that power in the city, and it will endure. So thank you kindly, and have a blessed day.
Thank you. Next, we have Ronald Donis, followed by Sandra S. Ronald Donis.
Good evening, everybody. My name is Ronald Donis, and I'm a resident of the Haynes Park neighborhood in the 1st Ward. I want to first talk about item number 38 on the agenda, the recommendation on giving our maintenance contract to Parkwork Landscape Maintenance over 2 local companies who bid at half the price that Parkwork did. They scored lower due to the committee's concern on the responsiveness, and it was also mentioned that Parkwork maintains Irvine and Long Beach parks. I just want to make sure that the council makes sure that if we're going to be paying Irvine Long Beach prices, that we're going to be getting Irvine Long Beach quality parks. Also, want to add, now we have our new police chief. The city has not responded to the California State Auditor's audit, calling our police department out for its bias, its racism, and its failure to do anything meaningful about it. Out of the 5 agencies called out for the racism, only 1 didn't respond. Even Villanueva's LA Sheriff's Department responded. The department lacks the policies to properly account and respond to officer bias, and that needs to be addressed. We have a new police chief, and we need a response, a plan on how the city is going to address the state's findings, or if and why it refutes them. The council here is thanking officers for going to community meetings, but the state has called out, and I quote, San Bernardino police have no formalized expectations, targeted goals, or accountability mechanisms for building trust with the individuals they serve. Therefore, those departments' various community engagement events are not structured around any dedicated strategy, and they lack actionable information on the success of those efforts. The overtime of having these officers attend our community events is not cost-effective, as it's merely superficial with no structure. Accountability is paramount for public servants, and the police department and our city administration is not being held accountable for this. Is it the police department that not responded? Is it the city administration? Where is the missing gap here? Something needs to be done. Something was mentioned earlier by a car accident. I'm a fraud and waste abuse investigator for the county, but prior I investigated fraud and complex claims for an insurance company. Police departments usually don't have in-house accident engineers, which would probably be a waste of money in the city here. Without any injuries, the police department encumbered approximately $1,000 for an accident engineer. I know my insurance company wouldn't do this. I know I wouldn't do this, having I been investigating this. Would any of us peasants get the same help from the police department? Or is this favoritism indicative of a Penman mayorship in the future? Thank you.
Thank you. Next, we have Sandra S., followed by Francisco Ramirez. Sandra.
Sorry, give me 1 second. Okay, sorry about that. Good evening, council members and Mayor Pro Tem. I was hoping to see Councilmember Reynoso here tonight. I would like to remind all council members that when you attend meetings and cast votes, you are not just voting for your ward. Your votes affect the entire city. And when you do not attend meetings, your absence and your failure to vote on agenda items negatively affects the entire city. I respect and admire Councilmember Reynoso, but I am disappointed that he is not here tonight. This is the third council meeting that he has missed, and there were very important agenda items that needed his support. Would it have been possible for him to vote remotely via Zoom? I'm not sure if that is allowed, but maybe it should be allowed if Councilmember Reynoso plans to miss any more meetings. Also, instead of canceling council meetings due to holidays, it would be better to reschedule them. And last but not least, I agree with Ms. Armstead that each council member needs their own staff member or assistant so that you can have a greater impact on our city. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Salazar. Next, and it looks like final speaker here is Francisco Ramirez.
Good evening, council members. My name is Francisco Ramirez. I am a parent of 3 little ones here for the San Bernardino. I want to congratulate everybody. I would like to visibly kudos to our Ward 6, Kim Kevin, for being a trailblazer, for being bold, and for being an awesome leader. I just want to publicly say that because I'm able to do that now. I also would like to publicly thank our director for parks, for letting allow my kids to karate school to go back into Delman Ladder Creek Community Center, for allowing for a father, single dad as myself, to be able to pay the monthly fee, which is doable, is really doable. So thank you for that. It's a great opportunity for our kids to continue to know karate, skills such as character building, and it's here in San Bernardino. It's one of those jewels that we have in San Bernardino that we want to keep. As I continue, I used to have experience with child welfare. I used to run a family resource center for the city of Jurupa Valley. The city of Jurupa Valley is really invested in something they called Healthy Jurupa Valley. And Healthy Jurupa Valley basically allows 5 action teams. I believe we all doing something great in San Bernardino. We're all doing great stuff. We just don't have someone to kind of put us all together. And Healthy Jurupa basically has 5 action teams, but their mission is, Healthy Jurupa mission is to inspire residents to an engineer change, bringing greater health, safety, and quality of life to everybody in the city. I think that's a great mission. This is something that we need as a San Bernardino. And the 5 action teams that follows that is arts and recreation, community prosperity, community safety and readiness, garden markets, and family resource network, which I belong, which was bringing resources to families that were in need of services. I think it's a great way that we could actually have everything under one umbrella, and a great way, because we meet monthly. We used to meet monthly when I used to work in City of Jurupa Valley, and it was a great opportunity for everybody to be involved. Our captain, our sheriff's department was really involved. Everybody seemed to be connected, and Reach Out, which is a nonprofit based in Upland, used to run that event. As I close, I would like to thank everybody for being here, and I also like how our city is moving forward. Looking forward to a lot more events where I could be part of, and I am excited to see Tom and Jerry on Friday. And I invite everybody to come and join us on Ward 6 because I'll be there with my kids, and I think we need to promote more father engagement and also parent engagement in general. And as we start investing in San Bernardino, I start saying I am from San Bernardino, and there's some good people here in San Bernardino as well.
Thank you. Ms. City Clerk, I have what appears to be emails here. I'm not sure
There are
if this
requests to speak that were submitted via email. It should be for Tristan Pelaez and Frank Perez.
Yeah, those are the names that are here.
Yes. I'm not sure if they're present to speak here tonight.
Do we know if either Tristan or who was the other one? Frank?
Frank Perez.
Frank Perez? Mr. You Frank Perez, please.
So just to, it's a little bit of a praise report, not necessarily a complaint about anything, but just to reiterate and expand on what Councilmember Sanchez and Alexander had talked about earlier. My name is Frank, and I am the founder and director of Rewritten. Rewritten is an organization that was founded 10 years ago because we believe no young man or woman should have to grow up without a father and carry the burden of his absence alone. That is what Rewritten is about, and that is what our inaugural 5K was about. This past Sunday, Rewritten hosted its first 5K here on the streets of downtown San Bernardino. And it looks like our 5K event turned out to be the little race that could. A few highlights. Nearly 100 runners with over 100 in attendance, including council members Theodore Sanchez and Damon Alexander, and then Assistant Chief Hernandez also ran the thing. Teddy, you look like you made it. Looked like at the finish line I was a little concerned, but you're here, so that's good. A write-up in the local Sun paper, and over $45,000 raised to support our work with the fatherless and underserved. So that's huge. Anyway, I'm here today to share about the 5K Rewritten hosted because I think it's important to hear about positive things that are happening here in the city. I am well aware of the despair and issues our city faces. I live here and I see it every day. But I also know that I serve a God who will go into the darkest of places for his children. No street is too dark, no city is too corrupt, no young man or woman is too lost for the love of God to restore. Watching God do his thing on the streets of downtown San Bernardino this past Sunday was a reminder of the healing and restoration that is possible. That's what our 5K was about. That's what Rewritten is about. And thank you for letting me be here today, and God bless.
Thank you. And that'll conclude for public speakers.
In-person public speakers, we have one remote speaker.
Okay, so we do have one remote
Yes,
speaker.
James Albert, if you can please unmute your mic and address the council. You have 3 minutes. And because there is a delay, I'm going to give him some time to respond.
And do we have any written comments as well?
We do not have any written to read into the record.
Okay, thank you.
James Albert, please unmute your mic.
Thank you. That'll conclude for public speakers. In-person public speakers, we have.
Is this the right time to speak?
Yes, go ahead. Yes, go ahead and start.
Thank you. James Albert, 7th Ward. A lot has been talked about tonight about the low voter turnout. I just wanted to provide some numbers as to what that looks like. According to the county elections website, we're sitting at just over 21.5% voter turnout across the county. Whereas back in midterm general election back in November of 2018, the voter turnout was just over 58%. I want to just highlight that, again, this low voter turnout could be solved by ranked choice voting. And while I commend the council for moving forward with a ranked voting presentation to educate mayor, council, staff, and the community at large, I was hoping that presentation would have been provided tonight, because the timeline on getting something added to the November ballot is closing on us by the end of the month. And I sincerely hope that none of us, elected officials, community leaders, the public, are satisfied with our voter turnout, because it's essentially abysmal. And I think we need to do more. And obviously, I think that ranked choice voting is the solution to our voting issues. So I hope that we can move this forward, and I definitely will be happy to work with staff on getting that presentation before the public in as timely and expedient as possible. Thank you.
That concludes public comment.
And that concludes, okay. We'll now be moving on to discussion items. We have item number 6, the designation of voting delegates and alternates for the 2022 League of California Cities Annual Conference and Expo, September 7th through the 9th.
I'd like to nominate, when we have a good thing, let's stick with it. Councilmember Calvin represented the city well last year, so I'd like to make her the voting member and make Councilmember Alexander the alternate, as well as Councilmember Figueroa. Are you attending this event? Councilmember Charette. He's been here for about 40 years. He knows better than anyone else. So that would be my. Yeah. So that would be my motion.
Second.
Any questions to us? No? Okay, at this time, we'll go ahead and proceed with the roll call, please.
Motion passes unanimously.
Okay, thank you. I'm not sure who to direct this to, but I'm not sure if other council members are having the same issue. When I click on one of the tabs, it takes me somewhere not related to the tab. So if I click on, let's say, for example, 6B, it takes me to something completely unrelated. So I don't know if we can work on that while we move on to the next item as well here. Item number 7, ethics training for all city employees. Mr. City Manager.
Thank you. The presentation on this item will be made by Renee Anderson, Human Resources Director. Renee.
Good evening, Mayor Pro Tem, council members, city manager. In January, council requested staff bring forth this item, ethics training for all city employees, back for future discussion, and the matter is presented before you tonight. City staff, various offices, the city clerk's office, city attorney's office, and human resources gathered background information, and noted before you is the Assembly Bill, California Assembly Bill Requirement 1234, which requires local officials to take a 2-hour ethics training within their first year of employment and every 2 years after. Also, the city has a conflict of interest code that is also updated and amended biannually, which requires other positions that are decision makers over public funds or public investments to file economic interest forms. They are called Form 700 filers. With that, the consideration was presented before you to consider making AB 1234 a continuation or expanding that requirement to these Form 700 filers, and then the regular lay employees who are not decision makers could take advantage of Vector Solutions, which is an online resource currently available to city employees, all staff, and take the ethics in government training, and human resources can oversee the completion of those certifications to ensure some type of ethics training is required for all city employees. So with that, there is no immediate cost to implementing these trainings with Vector Solutions and or the expansion of the AB 1234 requirement. And that is all I have. If you have any questions.
Oh boy, what happened to the queue there?
Councilmember Calvin is up
Okay,
next
there
to
we
speak.
go. Councilmember Kelvin.
Thank you, Mayor Pro Tem. Thank you, Ms. Anderson. Appreciate that. I just have one question. Do other cities require this?
No, we found one other city in Los Angeles County that has a mandatory ethics training, but there was no immediate surrounding cities that require this.
And the city in Los Angeles, you said the surrounding city of Los Angeles, or?
It was a city within Los Angeles, and I'm not sure, it's either Carson, I believe.
Okay. Were you able to find any type of indicators as to why they recommend it, or why they require their staff to do
The city
that?
of Carson, no, we didn't look into that.
Thank you. How about this? Do you see a reason?
I do believe there is a need, absolutely, for the spirit of ethics to be communicated and expected. I do believe that that comes with a culture and time and development. I do not believe a mandatory requirement will cause people to behave differently. And I think that's more about the spirit of the law rather than the letter of the law. And I think with time and the given opportunity to upstand a training, in fact, with our city attorney's office, we did discuss that in the future, how we could implement and have a 2-hour training for each staff and lead the discussion with that, partnering with the Human Resources Office as well as the city attorney's office to stand up a full training that we would be, specific to our city and our culture.
Thank you.
Thank you. Next speaker is, Councilmember Sandra Ibarra, please.
Thank you, Mayor Pro Tem. Ms. Anderson, I commend you for this recommendation. Actually, I believe every city employee should be taking the ethics training as well, and show them how to fill out the Form 700s. And if possible, I'd like to make an addition to this requirement, if it's possible, Mr. City Manager, that we also include the commissioners that we have. But I'm not aware of any other commissioners. There's some commissioners that I have not seen fill them out. So, are they?
Just the Planning Commission. The city requires just the Planning Commission at this time, but it's not required of any other commissioners.
So if we can do that also, because they do make a lot of decision-making before anything comes before the council. if there's any conflict of interest, it's important that the public knows if they're receiving any gifts from any developers or donations.
Well, I think we need to clarify our terms here. The other commissions don't make decisions, they make recommendations. And so there's a significant difference. Planning Commission does make decisions, and it's very appropriate that they be subject to Form 700 and to ethics training. The other commissions, I think we sometimes have difficulty filling some of the seats. I don't know that that would maybe have a negative impact on our ability to recruit people to those commission seats. So I think it's something we can contemplate. I wouldn't want to add it to this action tonight, though, without some additional evaluation and maybe something like a market study where we look at other jurisdictions and see what is happening with them elsewhere. But I don't disagree, though, on Planning Commission. Certainly it's important. So that would be our suggestion.
Thank you. That was just my recommendation, if we can also include commissioners across the board. Thank you.
Thank you. Next, Councilmember Theodore Sanchez.
Yes, the cost is minimal, and the benefits are potentially really large. We already contract with Vector for these sorts of classes, and we're not doing the AB 1, 2, 3, 4 classes that are 2 hours every 2 years. This is a little half-hour class that all employees would do. So again, half an hour once a year, once every 2 years is not that big of a deal, but it could potentially save us in lawsuits. The sensitivity training, ethics training, there's plenty of times when we've had to go into closed session and talk about how we're going to lose a lot of money because of some sort of suit or some sort of case where it could have potentially been avoided if we would have done half-hour training. So it's one of those things. Again, I can't emphasize enough. The cost is very small. The benefits potentially are large. So I move to approve the staff recommendation.
I'll second.
We have a motion by Councilmember Sanchez and a second by, I believe I heard Councilmember Alexander. Does that conclude anything? Okay. Councilmember Fred Charette.
I need to go back maybe and read the staff recommendation in order to agree with the motion, but I generally really appreciate the way you described. This should be cultural. This should be a culture. It should be established. I don't agree with this, calling out 700 employees, including all police officers in the park, somebody in the parks that's raking the lawn, with all due respect. This should be decision makers. It should be people working with money, obviously the Planning Commission and the electeds and top management. So I probably won't be supporting this, but I think it's incumbent upon the management, the leaders, to create a culture that these types of ethical things are not a major concern. And certainly someone that is not ethical, we're going to know that, we're going to find out, and you're right, it's not going to change. By having a rule, it's not going to change somebody's behavior. That's why we have the ability to fire somebody or let somebody go if they're not up to our standards. So we need to set high standards, but I don't necessarily believe that rules and regulations create that. I think it's more of a management leadership role, and it's just, as you say, that's a perfect word, a culture. And this city, we've all heard it tonight. We're starting to see the culture change in this city, and the leadership and the way we operate as a council together. And we changed the charter a few years back. We've just hired a phenomenal police chief. I've said it, I think, from the dais that this council is really, albeit not aligned and agreeing on everything, we are working, I believe, very, very well together and respecting one another. And I think that leadership comes from right here and from top management and creates a culture where people will be holding each other accountable. Employees down the line will be holding others. So I won't be supporting the idea of making it mandatory for everybody.
Okay, thank you. No other comments or questions, then there is a motion on the floor by Councilmember Sanchez, seconded by Councilmember Alexander. At this time, I'll ask to proceed with the vote.
Motion passes 4-2 with Councilmembers Charette and Figueroa voting in opposition.
Okay. We'll be moving on to public hearings at this time. I'm opening the public hearing at 8:55 p.m. Could I get a staff report on this item, please?
Yes, the staff report will be delivered by Oliver Mujica from the Planning Department.
Good evening, council members. The item before you tonight is Development Code Amendment 22-01. It's related to home occupation permits. Our last development code was updated in 1991, well before the common home computer. Since then, there's been some transitions in household dynamics and remote working, advancements in technology, and over time, our existing standards for home occupations have become sort of obsolete. Our current standard only limits to one home occupation permit per residence. And so if you're in a household and you have a couple of businesses that you want to try to register with the city, you're only allowed to have one per residence. And so we're asking to remove that limitation of the one. Also wanted to point out that in doing so, as kind of highlighted in the staff report, we've underlined and have stricken kind of some of the changes. But what I wanted to mention primarily is that the goal is to maintain the residential character of the neighborhood. And so there's a limitation on the square footage or percentage of what you can occupy your house or residence for the home occupation. It's limited to 15%. You can have a high volume of customers coming to your residence, and so it's really more conducive to what would be a normal visitor, here and there over the course of the day. You can't have signage. You can't do any modifications to the exterior of your home to make it appear as a business. And so those are some of the highlights of, of that. And so I just wanted to make that recommendation. This item was presented to the Planning Commission in February. They unanimously adopted a resolution to forward a recommendation that the City Council consider in approving that project, or the ordinance, I should say. With that concludes my presentation. I'd be glad to answer any questions. Thank you.
Move to approve.
Second.
Okay. Thank you. Do we have any requests to speak? Does anyone wish to speak on this item?
We haven't received any.
Okay. I will now be closing the public hearing at, and I'm sorry, there's a glare on the clock there, 8:50. That's what this doesn't seem like a public hearing. It seems more of a discussion item, but it's listed as a public hearing here.
It's a public hearing because it's a code amendment.
Okay, that's what makes more sense. I'm now closing the public hearing at approximately 8:59 p.m. For deliberation and action. Do we have a motion, or do we have any questions here? We have my apologies, Councilmember Theodore Sanchez of the First Ward, please.
I made the motion to approve the staff recommendation. What the hell's going on over there?
There is a second by Councilmember Calvin.
Okay. I do have not necessarily a question, but I just want to confirm that the purpose of this is for I'm sorry, I have distractions going on here. That this will not affect anybody who works currently for an employer that has a location, an entity already set up somewhere else. This is kind of like a home office, like what we've done over the last couple of years working from home.
If it's a remote working, like when some of us employees were sent during the pandemic home to work from home, I did not need to get a business license from the city to work from my residence.
Okay.
But if I wanted to get a license to do tax returns or whatever, that's what that would be.
So really, this applies more to somebody who's self-employed, running their own little business from home, and then something I'm trying to remember, that there should not be any, it shouldn't generate any type of vehicular traffic beyond that is customarily associated with the use of residential. So that would be like UPS, FedEx, Amazon deliveries, not
That's
other
correct.
types of. Okay, I just wanted to clarify that and make sure that that's the case here. Okay. Any other? There's a motion and a second, so we'll go ahead and proceed to vote on the item.
Motion passes unanimously.
Okay, moving right along here. Item number 9, a request to amend commercial cannabis business permit CCB 18-0021 to provide a change in location. I'm opening the public hearing at approximately 9 p.m. Could I please get a staff report on this item?
Absolutely. Stephanie Sanchez from Community and Economic Development will present the staff report. Stephanie.
Good evening, Council. Tonight, we bring you application CCB 22-0001. Our applicant, Ash Society, has submitted a request for a change in location. Simply put, they would like to move their place of business from 590 South E Street to 444 North H Street. They have met all the requirements. Staff has reviewed their application. Everything is in line. They've submitted everything that we've asked. Application looks good. We've deemed it complete at this time. Like I said, it's very straightforward. Staff is recommending approval of the change of location.
Okay, thank you. Do we have any requests, Ms. City Clerk, do we have any requests to speak? Does anyone wish to speak?
We did not receive any for this item.
I am now closing the public hearing at approximately 9:03 p.m. for deliberation and action. Do we have a motion or any questions or comments from the council?
I believe we have speakers for this item.
We'll start here with Councilmember Theodore Sanchez.
What's going on? Oh, I was just going to make I was going to move to approve. I don't know.
Next, nothing else to say?
That's it.
Okay, Councilmember Damon Alexander.
Thank you, Ms. Sanchez, for your report. I appreciate it. Is there any other cannabis shops on H Street?
There are.
There are?
There is one within proximity to this location, one already open and operating.
Did you say how far it was? I just don't want to make sure there's no cluster or we're not trying to become a greenhouse district. Right.
No, of course. There, with this one, if their change of location is approved, there will be 2 on H Street. They are separated by another building. But
So they're close.
they're close. They're within proximity to each other, but there's not really a lot of buildings along H Street in their location. So there's another cannabis location, there's a building, there would be this one, and then there's the Panda Express at the corner.
Okay. Is there any type of policy or guideline that permits so many cannabis businesses in a row? Do we have anything like that? Because like I said, I want a green, you heard of red light districts. I don't want a greenhouse district of cannabis shops by moving their locations. I'm just saying, you're laughing, Councilmember Calvin, but I'm serious. I don't want you to, just start driving and say, whoa, what's on the left, what's on the right?
Right. We currently, our ordinance does not have a distancing requirement for cannabis locations.
Right.
But with limited real estate on H Street, we don't have any other retail establishments looking to relocate into that area, and it's also not properly zoned for other types of cannabis licenses.
Okay. Is there a policy forthcoming, city manager, or something like that? Probably, maybe, possibly. Policy?
We have not contemplated that. Turn yours off. I don't believe we've contemplated that as of yet. Cannabis regulations internal to the city are evolving, but no, we've not. That is not on our list. That's not on our to-do list at the moment.
I don't want to give you anything else. I know your plate is full, but if that should come up again, on the same street within like 1,000 feet of each other, that would pose a problem, for at least for me it would. Thank you. Merry Christmas.
Understood. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilmember. Next, we have Councilmember Fred Charette.
Thank you. Have they given a reason why they're wanting to move? Perhaps their sales where they are not what they hoped they'd be, and I also kind of question why they would be moving. Most people want to get away from their competition, not get next door to it, and it sounds as though they're virtually next door. So this sounds a little odd to me that they'd be looking to move. Lease issues, sales issues, whatever. Have they given any reason?
They have recently been awarded their retail license. So their original location of 590 South East Street is currently unavailable. There's actually another retail establishment at that location. So in order for them to become open and operational, they had to locate a new building, new place to establish in order for them to build out their license and become open and operational. So they're relocating from their original location within their application to a new one where they can establish.
Wait a minute.
Right,
I don't understand. I don't understand. They haven't opened yet. They've never.
They're
opened.
not. No.
They've never opened.
Correct.
So they applied for a building that wasn't even available.
So, Mayor, council members, you may recall in 2019, the council then identified certain retailers and gave them the opportunity to apply and perfect their permits. We had others that came into the process later when you expanded your number of retailers. And then we had yet another group when we entered into settlement agreements with various potential retailers. This one, by the time that we got around to allowing them to get into the system so that they could actually apply for their license, another retailer had already taken the spot for which they had originally applied. So by the time they got through our settlement process, they said, oh, well, we can't go there. It's not possible for them to go there, yet they were qualified for all other purposes. And that's why the staff is recommending approval of this.
So essentially, we delayed them from being able to open. Now, when you keep referring to another retailer, different than cannabis?
No, it's another cannabis
So
retailer.
who took over the spot that they wanted is another cannabis.
Correct.
Because there was a delay in processing their permit. And so I don't think that you will see recommendations from staff and legal counsel to approve relocations in the future simply because someone says, well, I'm at this street corner and I'm not doing as well, I want to move. We will look for legitimate reasons, and we look for reasons which are beyond the control of the operator.
And this was beyond the control of the operator.
Correct.
And
that's
they
why this-
did qualify in every other category, and we essentially delayed them. And that certainly, I think, we need to own that and probably help them out.
And you entered into a settlement agreement with them, so we would be thwarting the intent and purpose of that settlement if we were not to allow them to go forward.
Thank you for the clarification.
Thank you, sir. Councilmember Sandra Ibarra.
Thank you. Actually, I think my colleague Fred Charette from the 4th Ward, he asked most of the questions I had, which were when did we move forward with granting them the permit versus the time frame, if they were within that time frame to change locations. That was my main question. So, yeah, I'm okay with that. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilmember. Councilmember Calvin.
Thank you, Mayor Pro Tem. So I understand what has taken place and to why they're needing to relocate. What I don't really understand is, back to what Councilmember Alexander stated, why that street, why that building right next door to another cannabis operation. That, what are we then creating with that being allowed? Considering if we have 62 square miles of city, and why would that take place?
Sure. Understandable, and it's a good question. It is up to the retailers to find locations that will work best for them and their business. After we had increased our number of retail licenses to 17, we had retailers now going into even more locations, which limited real estate for other retail locations. As to the specific location, I can defer to the applicant as to why they chose that specific building in that area. But ultimately, it was probably just a good business choice for that business. It's a good location. It's right off the freeway. It gets a lot of traffic on that street. But if you would like more specifics, I can defer to the applicant. They are here if you have questions.
They are here?
Correct.
Oh, definitely.
Good evening, council members. My name is Tin Weston. I'm the attorney for the applicant. Ever since the implementation of the cannabis ordinance, real estate has become limited for cannabis operators because the city has designated certain zones that these cannabis businesses has to operate within. So within the zone, we then had to find not only the zone that's allowed, the applicant did receive a zoning verification letter from the city that passed all of the buffer requirements. The thing is that the reason why this property was chosen because of availability. It's really hard as it is to find available property for cannabis. And so in choosing a location to move to, essentially we had to find what was available, and this building happened to be available for lease. Should I stay for other questions?
Well, that's basically what was already reiterated. I'm not going to hold it up, but I do want to suggest to us that we don't allow cannabis companies to stack up, right next to each other, because of what that does create some sort of a district.
Does that conclude? Okay. It is my vague recollection that we had a conversation maybe about 2 years ago, don't remember exactly when, where the council at that time had requested to include as part of the ordinance, if I remember correctly, it was about 1,000 feet or a quarter mile separation, unless they were separated by some natural or man-made boundary like a freeway, that they could be located within that 1,000 feet. Is that, am I to understand that that then is not part of the ordinance?
Currently, that is not part of the ordinance. There are no distance requirements between cannabis establishments. It was not part of the original ordinance when it went forward. At this point, if that was something that we wanted to look at modifying, it would have to be part of the modifications that we would take back and place on the ballot for voting.
Okay. I have a vague recollection of having that conversation, or at least the council having that conversation a couple of years ago. What are some of the disqualifying factors of a location as far as what constitutes a sensitive zone?
So the sensitive use buffers are made up of schools, youth facilities, anything having to do with young children. Elizabeth, if you want to speak.
Good evening. Yes, so the sensitive use buffers, that would be, as Stephanie mentioned, it would be schools, anything from K through 12, private, public, whether it be in the city or in an unincorporated area of the city. Has to do with also youth centers. They can't be within a certain amount of areas of the youth centers, parks and recreation parks, school, like public facilities. They can't be within 600 feet of any public facilities. We also take into account public libraries. So if they're within certain proximity, we also take that into account. And then also churches, religious facilities, and also any residentially zoned properties.
Does it have to be residentially zoned?
Yes, it has to be residentially zoned. Those are sensitive use buffers, correct?
It's interesting that you mentioned youth facilities. There's a different location not associated with this. There's one actually being built pretty close, in fact, across the street from a youth facility, athletics center, at a different location, not associated with this one. The reason well, I'm not, there's a reason why I asked if it has to be residentially zoned, but I'm not going to go into that. Okay, thank you. No further questions. If nobody else has any other comments or questions, we'll go ahead and move with the vote.
There isn't a second to the item, to the vote.
Oh, my apologies. We do have a motion. Is there a second?
Second.
Seconded by Councilmember Alexander. We'll go ahead and proceed to the vote.
Since Councilmember Ibarra is away, we'll go ahead and take a voice vote. Okay. Councilmember Sanchez?
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem?
Yes.
Councilmember Charette? Yes. Councilmember Calvin?
Yes.
Councilmember Alexander?
Aye.
Okay, motion passes unanimously.
Okay. Next item, number 10, public hearing for draft annual action plan. I'm opening the public hearing at approximately 9:15 p.m. Could we please get a staff report on this item?
We can. The staff report will be delivered tonight by Barbara Whitehorn, Director of Finance. Barbara, you're up.
Good evening, Mayor and Council. And I request your forgiveness on some of this. I've not done an annual action plan before, so I'm kind of walking through it for the first time. It was put together by my staff on behalf of housing, because as you know, we've had some staffing challenges there. And I also apologize that this PowerPoint is a little more wordy than the one in your documents. I accidentally uploaded the previous draft. Same information, just way too many words on the slide, so I apologize for that. The goal of this program, which is Community Development Block Grant, and we receive funds every year for community development, ESG, Emergency Services Grant, and also housing grants. And we, every year, normally conduct this a little earlier in the year, but we also usually hear from HUD as to our allocation in February. And then we can do the action plan, and we submit it. We have 30 days to hear from the public to tell us what they would like us to invest in versus what we've drafted. And then we have another council meeting 30 days later where you can adopt the action plan for the year. So we didn't receive the information from HUD, no one did, until May, which delayed the whole process. Normally this is due to HUD in May. This year it's due to HUD on August 16th. So we're doing our meetings today and then July 20th. And hopefully in between now and July 20th, we will get some feedback from our community partners and from other people in the community as to how they would like to see these funds invested, because what we have done is just a draft at this point. Everything here that we have primarily consists of entitlement grants that are driven by qualified census tracts, metropolitan cities, and urban counties. And it's totally data-based at the federal level, really complicated, and I have no idea how they come up with exactly what they give us. I know that we got a little bit less in one category, a little bit more in another, for almost the same overall as last year. So we have CDBG, Home Investment Partnership, and Emergency Solutions Grant. Sorry, I say services, solutions. And the Consolidated Action Plan is a big 5-year plan that we put together in June of 2020. So this year's plan is just an annual action plan, which is kind of part of that 5-year plan. But we don't have to adopt the enormous one that we did 2 years ago. And each year with the consolidated plan, we have to do this annual plan, and we got our allocation in May. As I said, this is the draft, and then we will come back on July 20th with a final, but even at that point, we will still have funds that are freed up that were not spent in this past year that we will then allocate and do an amendment to our action plan. So it kind of changes all the time, but that's the deal. So these are, we consistently fund our Section 108 loan repayment. We have fair housing for $73,000, which is required. And then we have capital improvements, and I'm sorry that's so small. I know it's in your paperwork as well. But these are the initial grant amounts that we're contemplating for the funds that we've received. And if you have questions, please feel free, and I will do my best to answer them.
All right, thank you. Do we have any requests to speak? Does anyone wish to speak on this item?
We do not have any public speakers, but we do have council members waiting.
Councilors, okay. Councilmember Theodore Sanchez.
Yes, I have two comments. First one, if we can all go back to page 8, that chart. We have in the past not used the administrative allocation, and that's fancy terms for paying our city employees to help disperse the millions of dollars we get from the federal government to provide improvements to the qualified census tracts. So I think we used the maximum, so that out of the $3.1 million allocated to us under CDBG, the Community Development Block Grant money, so we were granted $3.1 million. We're going to be using $622,000 of that for staff. In the past, we haven't used any of it, and so that money can make it out onto the streets. I'm not entirely against it, but let's not get greedy, because that 622 is the max amount that we can charge against that CDBG funding. So maybe next year, don't go for the max of 622. Maybe cap it at 350, 400, because this money can be used. So in the past, we were using this money to rebuild our playgrounds at all our parks. So when you see all these new playgrounds at all the parks in the city, they were all paid with this money. And it's because we weren't allocating for staff. We weren't pulling that CDBG funding from those streets and paying our staff. So look, I get it. We need to pay our staff, and we can use this money for that, but let's not get greedy and use all of it. All right? Next thing I see under the CDBG funding, we've allocated a lion's share of that for street repaving, which is fine. But I've asked, and I'm going to ask very publicly again, you got to give us some sort of metric as to how you pick these streets. Because I took a look at all these streets, and some of these streets are not, the conditions vary, but a lot of it is, some of these streets, very low traffic, the condition of the street is mediocre. You have other streets with high traffic, same condition, and those were passed up within a 1 mile radius. So we need logic so that I can sleep well at night, and my constituents know that the dollar is being spent, every last dollar is being spent in the right place. Okay, so those are my two comments, but I will approve this action plan. It's a good plan, and I want to be the bearer of good news, so I want to let you guys know potentially Section 108 loans will be going away, which means that there will be another nearly $800,000 that the city will get every year in CDBG funding, which we can use to, fix up the poorer side of town. That's it. So I move to approve.
Thank you, Councilmember. Councilmember Kimberly Calvin.
Thank you very much, Ms. Whitehorn. So just for some clarification, out of the CDBG funding, we would generally also fund CBOs, right? Right? And I don't see that here, and that's a little bit disturbing for me, because this is where we are able to put money back into the community and help to fund some of the organizations that are funding our constituents on a regular basis. Where are we with that?
I'll tackle that one. That is something we're going to reintroduce. That's something we've not done for a very long time. There are a variety of reasons for that, but we will be bringing back, it's called the 15% service cap. You can use 15% of the money for public service. So I've already given direction that this is the last year where we will be taking money and spending 100% of it on, essentially on the Section 108 loan and street repaving and that sort of stuff, capital improvements. So that will be next year. It's a very complex system that you have to establish in order to provide that. There's all kinds of income verification documents and other things that have to be developed in order to comply with HUD's regulations on the service cap. Nonetheless, this is a great source of funding for public service and for capacity building. We've talked in the past about capacity building, and that is precisely what we will intend to be doing. We don't have this today. We don't have the staff to do that, but we will be. We are staffing up now, and will in fact be prepared to do that next year.
So the items, the priorities and the objectives, goals 1 through 5, I like those, but I still, as I'm going to call you Congressman down there, Sanchez. As Councilman Sanchez mentioned, that this is also where funding for our parks and things do come from as well, and I don't see that there as well. And we still do have several, I know that I do, that need immediate attention, so why not?
We're using other funds for those purposes. We're using CDBG for a relatively small number of projects, because whereas in the past we didn't have funds, any other source of funds, we had Measure I, we had gas tax, and we had CDBG to do capital improvements. We used to do about $8 or $9 million a year worth of capital improvements. We're doing substantially more than that now through funding sources like ARPA and Measure S. The general fund is healthier than it has been historically, so we're using other monies for that purpose. We're still doing the projects and much more than we had done in the past. We're just not using CDBG dollars for that purpose. So it's a fund source issue.
So next year we'll see the CBOs being funded out of the CDBG funding, correct?
Yes.
And so, but where we find ourselves short and not able to take care of the parks that need it this year, why wouldn't we just use this funding as well?
It's pretty limited. The amounts are pretty limited, and there are so many regulations attached to using CDBG money for capital improvements that you're best off limiting them to a specific type of project, like street improvements, for example, as opposed to blending it with I don't want to say taint exactly, but essentially if you use CDBG funds, it's easier to use general fund dollars, including Measure S, than it is to use CDBG dollars. There's a lot of reporting requirements, those duplicated types of prevailing wage that you have to pay for the construction of those improvements. You're just much better off, especially in a limited staffing environment, to restrict the use of CDBG to just a few projects and try not to blend other types of funds with them, because it's really complex. You're using Davis-Bacon and California prevailing wage to do these things. I mean, I can't even tell you how difficult it is to do all the wage monitoring, and frankly, contractors don't really like doing a lot of CDBG work because it is so complex. So a lot of times you don't end up getting bids, and if you do, you get them from people. You get inflated bids. So the only one, the classification of contractor who is accustomed to doing CDBG work are the people who do street work. So that makes it a more efficient use of those funds. So that's why we have decided to allocate other forms of funds to things like parks improvements.
Thank you.
Thank you. Next, we have Councilmember Damon Alexander, please.
Thank you, and I just want to echo what Councilmember Calvin said, because it's on my little notes here, 15%, so that she's not speaking alone in a silo. Make sure that we do that. But also I want to bring up back the CDBG group that we have, the ad hoc committee. Is that, well, how do we bring it, the question is, how do we bring it back? Because I don't want staff to make this, because it should be council, it should be the community, because that was usually a community type group that brought that forward in the past. So
that was a past practice. I think what most jurisdictions do is do what we're doing today. I mean, we're not doing any public services here, but you typically there's no committees. It's the body as a whole. Mm-hmm. Here's public, it starts early. You get applications from CBOs and other applicants. You bring those applications to the council, into the whole council during a public hearing, and here that way the whole council, you don't have to have it interpreted by a committee. The entire council will do that. When I was at the County of Riverside, the entire Board of Supervisors sat in on the meeting to hear the testimony of the applicants. So we could reestablish the committee system if that were the council's preference. It's entirely your decision. just in my experience, has worked better and been more efficient because there doesn't have to be interpretation. We will get applications, I suspect, from every single ward, and that way, you're not, if an applicant from Ward 7, if you're not on the committee, they're kind of not represented. So I personally, I mean, it can be a little bit of a burden. The public hearing for CDBG can be kind of a burden, but I would still suggest we do that, especially the first year. But if it's the will of the council to reestablish the committee, that's fine too. It's as I said, it's entirely your call.
Okay, I just want to make sure that, the public gets its due, because we've been absent for a minute. That's it. That's my last question. Thank you.
Yep.
Thank you, sir. Councilmember Sandra Ibarra, please.
Thank you. Going back to the streets that are recommended for the CDBG this time around, were these looked at under the assessment plan that we had, the pavement plan?
I'm going to defer to Alex Kishta on that question.
I want to make sure they're within the remaining 2 years of life that they have, because I know it's a long list of streets that are at their end of the road.
Good evening,
No
Mayor.
pun intended.
Good evening, Mayor Pro Tem and council members. Yes, we most of the streets that were chosen for this kind of program is because there is an infill housing project on these things, and that is why they choose the way it has been done, because CDBG do fund these kind of projects. So we took advantage of this funding and we applied to these streets. Yes, they are very disturbed. They need to be completely reconstructed, and we choose streets that will be in our remaining service life is about 5 and down. So when we decided, when we sat down and figured out the street system, that is what we need to include it in the CDBG. When we got the application, we looked at the census tract, the diverse one, because that is what CDBG funds really support.
Okay, and that is to answer the question for my colleague then, Councilmember Sanchez. The reason they're getting paved is because they have infill projects happening on those blocks.
Is that on all 3 segments?
That is on 2 segments.
Thank you, that was all.
Any other council members? No? Is that a new one, Councilmember Alexander, or is that, okay, there we go. Okay, I'll now be closing the public hearing at approximately 9:30 p.m. for deliberation and action. Do we have a motion, please?
Yeah, I made that motion.
I'll
Okay.
second.
Second, motion by Councilmember Sanchez, seconded by Councilmember Ibarra. Go ahead and proceed with the vote.
Oh, motion passes unanimously.
All right, hang tight, everyone. I think we're getting there. We're getting there. Next item is number 11, resolution confirming assessments for unpaid solid waste collection services. We'll be opening the public hearing here at approximately 9:33 p.m. Could we please get a staff report on this item? And I do see the representative from Burtech in the back there, Mr. Mike Aragon, as well, too. Please, if we could get the staff report.
Absolutely. Yes, Daniel Hernandez, Director of Public Works, will be making the presentation on this item. Daniel.
Yes, good evening, Mayor Pro Tem and members of the City Council. So upon the conclusion of the public hearing, the recommendation that you have before you is to adopt the resolution confirming assessment and proceeding for unpaid solid waste collection services. Prior to taking action on staff's recommendation, I would like to provide some background on the item. As the City Council is aware, the city entered into an agreement with Burtech Waste Industries in 2016 to provide our solid waste collection services. As such, the city's municipal code provides in the event that a bill for solid waste collection services, together with any late charge which is not paid in full within 30 days after mailing the notice of delinquency to the property owner or tenant, Burtech may assign such a bill to the county for to the city for collection through the initiation of a lien and special assessment proceeding. For reference, our commercial customers are sent monthly invoices, and our residential customers are sent bi-monthly invoices. In accordance with the city's municipal code, an administrative hearing was held on May 12th of this year to hear any protests and resolve any inconsistencies prior to today's public hearing. Each affected party, property owner and tenant were notified of the administrative hearing and today's public hearing. 15 individuals submitted public comment by email, 9 individuals spoke with Burtech representatives to address delinquent billings, and 7 individuals personally appeared before the hearing officer. The hearing officer adopted the report and moved to proceed to process forward our hearing today. Burtech initially provided a city a delinquent list with approximately 3,642 parcels, with a total amount due of approximately $926,000 as of May 2nd. A number of customers have either made payment arrangements or paid the delinquencies in full. These customers have been removed from the list, bringing our list to approximately 2,022 parcels with an amount due of approximately $621,000. As of today, since June 6th, staff has returned 237 phone messages relating to the administrative hearing decision notice. We anticipate, as in past years, that the list will continue to dwindle down up to the final submission date due on August 31st. Property owners still have an opportunity to make up payments until August 19th. A resolution has been prepared confirming assessments and proceedings for placing unpaid solid waste collection services fees on the property tax roll. Staff requests at the end of the public hearing that City Council adopt a resolution to place the assessments on the list properties to recover the amounts owed for solid waste collection services. I'll be happy to answer any questions that the council may have.
And Mayor Pro Tem and council members, I just want to remind you of the intent of this item, just under the Brown Act, because I understand that an item like this might bring out all sorts of issues with respect to solid waste, but this item is solely related to unpaid fees related to service. If anyone comes up during the public hearing to speak to claim that they do not owe these fees, that they were improperly billed, that would be something to address during the public hearing. If someone's here claiming overall that the rates are too high, that would not be a proper item of discussion for this public hearing, because this public hearing is about whether someone received a bill and failed to pay that bill. Again, if there was a mistake with the bill, we should address that issue this evening.
Okay. Mayor Pro Tem, yes. I just want to state for the record that you received an updated exhibit for this item, and it's placed on the dais for you all, and it's also available on the website. And we have copies available for the public in the back.
Thank you for that update. Do we have any requests to speak? Does anyone wish to speak on this item? Did we receive any public comments from this?
We did not.
Okay. I will then, do I close it or do we go on to council questions here? I will now be closing the public hearing at approximately 9:37 p.m. for deliberation and action. Councilmember Theodore Sanchez, please.
Just like business registration, as soon as you pay the delinquent amount, the lien on the property title goes away. So if you find out your name's on here, go pay it, and it'll clear the title. So move to approve.
I'll second.
We have a motion and a second. We still, I think I saw. Did you remove? Okay. A question as far as how often or how quickly I see some numbers on there and the amount, under $100, $50-something, but then I also see some that are, in the thousands. So how often is the public hearing had, or how often is this list actually brought forward? Why is it that we see such a large difference from 50-something to now we also have, I assume they're businesses that are in the thousands on this list as well. How often is this?
So we do this process annually.
Annually, okay. And I assume some of them are businesses that are in here. Are they still able to renew their business license if they have any unpaid?
So the requirement, and I'll defer to the business license department on this specific question, but part of the requirement to have a business license is to have trash service. So in the event their service is canceled, that's the only way they wouldn't be able to renew their. But Burtech has made themselves, as the council may be aware, there was a table out there that was set up by Burtech for those that needed to pay their services. So they've been pretty open and willing to work with both residents and commercial businesses to pay these outstanding bills.
Okay, and that's very much appreciated. Thank you for being flexible in that regard. Do we have any? Okay, Councilmember Kimberly Calvin, please.
Thank you, Mayor Pro Tem. Thank you, sir. Are these are businesses and homes?
That is correct.
And everyone on this list has been sent, I'm sure, right, noticed. And so basically what you all are asking for us tonight is to approve.
The list continues to evolve. As folks continue to pay their delinquent balances, they get removed off the list. So in August, we will create a final list as of August 19th, which will be sent on August 31st. So up to that point, those that have outstanding balances will still have the opportunity to be paid. But those that were initially over the 3,000 that were on the list received both the administrative hearing notice as well as this public hearing notice.
Thank you.
One quick question.
Please, Councilmember Alexander.
Oh, thank you, sir. I appreciate you. Is this renters or owners? Like, if I'm sure some of these are rental properties, so are you going to send it to the owners or is it going to the renters? And then I'm also, part two, answer part one.
So in some of these instances, it is the tenant who is delinquent and in those instances, we have received we have received calls from the property owner indicating they weren't aware that they were on this list, and they've made their arrangements to pay the delinquent balance, and that's just the issue they have to settle with their specific tenants.
So in the future, so this doesn't occur, maybe that's a question to Mike, I don't know, maybe we want to send it concurrently to the owner and the tenant, so it doesn't, we don't get such a long list, maybe in the future, I don't know.
Mike, if you may, so the process, this is the first go-around during my tenure here at the city.
Right.
So from what my understanding, it's from the perspective of who receives it, it's the person who establishes the service.
So,
Just again, want to wait.
Okay, I got it. Thank you. I want to ask you more questions.
I want you to ask questions because you need to understand before you take such an action, but the law allows us to place a lien on the property, so obviously it would be for the property owner, and the property owner, when they lease out their property, they could choose to arrange for the service directly and they could pay for it. A property owner could pay for the trash service and then they could increase the rent to reflect that. If a property owner chooses not to do that and let the tenant do it, it still becomes a responsibility because every property in the state of California has to make arrangements for the collection of trash on their property.
I just don't want the property owners to be surprised with a $1,000 or a $3,000 bill because their tenant didn't pay for it.
They potentially could be.
Right.
And this year, if that happens to them, then I suppose they could go through, make arrangements with their tenants so they're not surprised next year.
So I was concerned about the noticing, right? I'm concerned about the noticing. So I don't know if Mike notices the property owner equally with the property tenant at the same time, so there's no surprise for the owner.
Mayor Pro Tem, Council, Mike Aragon, Vice President with Burtech Waste Industries. Councilman Alexander, that's a great question. As these individuals begin going delinquent, we give them initial notice to rectify their bill. As they proceed and the account ages to where it is necessary, where their name and the address will be put on a hearing list and ultimately a lien list, the owners of the property are also informed so that hopefully they can make arrangements for payment or they can encourage their tenant to pay their bill. Unfortunately, those that don't end up on these lists, and it is a mandatory service program here in the city of San Bernardino, so whether they pay their bill or not, it does not, we cannot stop collection for residential services. So our only course of action to recover those costs is to go through this lien process.
Thank you, sir. I just want to know about the notifications of owners so they're not surprised. That's all. Thank you for your answer. I appreciate you.
We are legally required to notify the owner prior to placing this lien on their property.
Okay. Thank you, City Attorney.
Thank you, Councilmember. Next is Councilmember Sandra Ibarra.
Yes, and I'm trying to, I think I know where the concern is from Councilmember Alexander. If I was renting out my property, and let's say I left it to my renter or my tenant to open that account, and if they decide to move, I will not be notified as a property owner until a year later. Maybe that tenant defaulted on their rent, and I had to evict them, and now I have to pay their bill. That is a burden on the property owner. So it would be nice, I'm just trying to figure out, like, to open an account with Burtech, what information is Burtech requiring? Are they requiring like a rental agreement or mortgage statement from them to know that'll differentiate the tenants from actual property owners? Because that would have the information on the property owner and the tenants responsible for the utilities.
Yes, Council Member. A tenant can open up an account in their name for that property address, but as we have that address on in our system, it also is tied to the county records that show the owner's information. That does happen. Tenants open up an account, run up a bill, leave. If we're not notified, the only way that it comes to our attention is that dollar amount ages, and there's no response to our letters that say it's a delinquent account and needs to be paid. With continued lack of response, it now ages to a point to where the owner of the property is notified. But absent that, unless the tenant called us, say, I'm moving out, we will tell them, hey, you have a balance that is due. They say, well, I'm not paying it, I'm leaving. That would generate a letter to an owner as well.
Okay, but for right now, what documentation are tenants presenting to Burtech to open the account?
Just name and address.
Okay, and I know for a fact on my block, for example, before I even became elected, one of the homeowners passed away, and he had squatters in his home. During that time, the property was going through the court system for probate, and what happened is the people that were going into that property illegally or trespassing, they were activating the water account with the fake lease agreement with him having passed away, and so they just provide you an address and you open their account.
Unfortunately, we would, and we do have many cities that actually restrict that and say that all services need to be in the owner's name rather than the tenant's name, because it would prevent that particular problem. But unfortunately, that is open to tenants and whomever calls under that property address. We try to get as much contact information as possible. They may have an email address, phone, all of that information. But unfortunately, until the property starts to generate charges against it and lack of payment, we have no way of knowing who's there outside of the people that have communicated that to us. We do have, based on county records, ownership information.
Right, but they're not getting notified until we go through this process. Right. And that, to me, if I was the property owner and, let's say, live far away, I would want to know that my tenants are defaulting.
Yeah.
Like, you say you're going to get this bill, you're not paying for it, I'm taking it out of your deposit, to protect themselves.
Yeah.
I mean,
as I say, we have no other way of knowing outside of, I would encourage property owners with tenants to put the bill in their name. They would they'll know what's going on, and when the property owner would call and say, hey, this is a vacant property now, and it may prompt the collection of barrels. There's no way that people can have service, something to that effect, but there'd be some open communication. But without Without that, then property owners need to take responsibility for their property and either trust their tenants to make the right choices and pay their bill, or to put that bill in their name and provide that service for their tenant and add those costs to their rent.
Okay, and then you had mentioned there's some cities that actually do require the property owners to open the account, not their tenants, right?
Yes.
You know what cities those would be?
The
Like
one-
just some off the top of your head?
The one coming to mind is the city of Barstow, believe it or not, and they all of their properties for services are mandatory, first of all, and then in the owner's name.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Councilmember Charette?
Yeah, the only comment I have, Mike, is you used the word responsibility, and we cannot legislate accountability. These are people that are in business renting, and so many times you'll see a rent agreement that says water and trash is paid, and that's the reason. So in other words, if the rent is $900 and the water and trash bill is another $200 a month, the rent is now $1,100 a month, and I'm going to pay the water and the trash because I want my yard watered and I want my trash picked up. And so we're here tonight trying to justify or protect ownership or whatever, and that's not our job. That's not our responsibility. That's between the landlord, the property owner, and the tenant. And there's ways to go about that. And we've got all kinds of mechanisms in place that help them. And if they're not doing their job, we can't do it for them. And so I don't have any problem with what we do and all the opportunities and things that with as far as we go to, you, the Burtec, and any other vendor goes to try to help these peoples, but it's not our job. So I don't know if there's a motion on this, but I motion to approve.
There is a motion. I believe
Okay.
it was Councilmember Sanchez, seconded by Councilmember Ibarra, if I remember correctly.
And let's call for the question.
Is that correct? Mr. Harrigan, thank you for your presence here tonight, and thank you for your patience in sticking around this late in the evening. And to everybody who's, the public who's still here, thank you for still being here and being committed, and to our city employees, thank you for staying strong here. Thank you so much. We'll go ahead. I know, we're not done. We still got quite a ways to go here, so, sleep with your eyes open. We'll call for the vote, please.
Mayor Pro Tem, we need your vote.
Oh, my apologies. I thought we were doing a. I'm tired too, folks. Yeah, I'm sleeping with my eyes open. Right?
Item passes unanimously.
Item
Number 12.
Okay. Public hearing, number 12. All right. The public hearing is to consider annexation proceedings and elections for City of San Bernardino Community Facilities District number 2019-1, annexation number 15. The public hearing is not open. The time is approximately 9:53. Are there any disclosures from council members? Seeing none. Ms. City Clerk, do you have proof of publication that the notices are required by law, have been given, and do we have a complete file of documents?
Yes.
Yes, we do. 1, 2, 3. Yeah, there's still quorum. Are there any written communications on this matter?
No, there are not.
Okay. Do any council members wish to hear the staff report? No? Okay. I don't blame you, sir. We will now receive comments from any persons in the audience who wish to speak on this matter. Each person may address the City Council for a maximum of 3 minutes. Please submit your speaker slip to the City Clerk. Ms. City Clerk, do we have any?
We did not receive any
Okay.
for this
My
item.
apologies if I've already asked. Would the city staff like to make any further comments? No? Okay. Do any members of the council have any questions of staff or wish to make any comments before I close the public hearing? Seeing none, has the city clerk received written protests?
sorry. I have received 0 written protests.
Okay. I now declare the hearing closed, the time being approximately 9:55. Yeah, it's hard to see it from here. I'm sorry, my apologies, there have been some changes here. Okay,
A motion to adopt resolution.
okay, is that okay. May I have a motion to adopt resolution number 2022-112 of the Mayor and City Council of the City of San Bernardino, California, calling an election to submit the qualified electors the question of levying a special tax within the area proposed to be annexed to the Community Facilities District number 2019-1, Maintenance Services, annexation number 15.
Yes, you
I
can
move
have
to
a vote.
approve.
Thank you. Motion by Councilmember Fred Charette, seconded by
Second.
Councilmember Ibarra. Is there any further discussion? Seeing none, we'll go ahead and do a voice vote.
Yes. Councilmember Sanchez is absent for this item. Councilmember Ibarra?
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem?
Yes.
Councilmember Charette?
Yes.
Councilmember Calvin?
Yes.
Councilmember Alexander?
Aye.
Okay, motion passes unanimously.
Okay. The resolution that we have just adopted calls for elections within the property to be annexed to CFD number 2019-1 to approve such annexation and to authorize the levy of the special tax in accordance with the rate and method of appointment to provide certain services within such property, which is to be held at this time by the city clerk.
Okay, all ballots have been cast in connection with the election for CFD number 2018-1, and the election is now closed. Each of the ballot propositions have been approved by more than 2/3 of the votes cast in the elections for CFD number 2018-1.
Having received a certificate of the city clerk certifying the results of number 2022-113 of the election, I would entertain a motion to approve I believe I've read that incorrectly. Let me start over. Having received a certificate of the city clerk certifying the results of the election, I would entertain a motion to approve resolution number 2022-113 of the Mayor and City Council of the City of San Bernardino, California, declaring election results for Community Facilities District number 2019-1, Maintenance Services, annexation number 15. Do I have a motion? Motion by Councilmember Charette.
Second.
Seconded by Councilmember Ibarra. Is there any further discussion? Seeing none, we'll go ahead and proceed with a voice vote.
Okay, Councilmember Sanchez is absent for this item. Councilmember Ibarra?
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem?
Yes.
Councilmember Charette?
Yes.
Councilmember Calvin?
Yes.
Councilmember Alexander?
Aye.
Okay, motion passes unanimously.
Okay. I would now ask for a motion to waive further reading and introduce by title only an ordinance of number MC-1584 of the Mayor and City Council of the City of San Bernardino, California, amending ordinance number MC-1522 and levying special taxes to be collected during fiscal year 2022-2023 to pay the annual costs of the maintenance and servicing of landscaping, lighting, water, quality improvements, graffiti streets, street sweeping, parks, and trail maintenance, a reserve fund for capital replacement and administrative expenses with respect to the City of San Bernardino Community Facilities District number 2019-1. There a motion?
Move approval.
Motion by Councilmember Charette.
Second.
Seconded by Councilmember Ibarra. Is there any further discussion? Seeing none, we'll proceed with a voice vote.
Councilmember Ibarra?
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem?
Yes.
Councilmember Charette?
Yes.
Councilmember Calvin?
Yes.
Councilmember Alexander?
Aye.
Okay, motion passes unanimously.
Thank you. We'll go ahead and that concludes item number 12. We'll proceed on to a public hearing, item number 13 on annexation number 19 to Community Facilities District 2019-1. I'm going to need a lot of cough drops after today. The public hearing is to consider annexation proceedings and elections for City of San Bernardino Community Facilities District number 2019-1, annexation number 19. The public hearing is now open. The time is approximately 9:58. Are there any disclosures from council members? Seeing none, Ms. City Clerk, do we have proof of publication that the notices as required by law have been given, and do we have a complete file of documents?
Yes, we do.
Are there any written communications on this matter?
There are none.
Do any council members wish to hear the staff report? I didn't hear anybody, so we will now receive comments from any persons in the audience who wish to speak on this matter. Each person may address the City Council for a maximum of 3 minutes. Please submit your speaker slips to the City Clerk. Ms. City Clerk, do we have any individuals?
We do not have any.
Okay. Would the city staff like to make any further comments? No. Do any council members of the do any members of the council have any questions of staff or wish to make any comments before I close the public hearing? Hey, yeah. I will. Has the city clerk received written protests?
I have not received any written protest.
All right. I now declare the hearing closed, the time being approximately 9:59. May I have a motion to adopt resolution number 2022-114? I'm sorry?
114.
114. Thank you for assisting me with the assist. Of the Mayor and City Council of the City of San Bernardino, California, calling an election to submit to the qualified electors the question of levying a special tax within the area proposed to be annexed to the Community Facilities District to number 2019-1, Maintenance Service Annexation number 19. Is there a motion? Motion by Councilmember Charette.
Second.
Seconded by Councilmember Ibarra. Is there any further discussion? Seeing none, we'll go ahead and proceed with the voice vote.
Councilmember Sanchez?
Yes.
Councilmember Ibarra?
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem?
Yes.
Councilmember Charette?
Yes.
Councilmember Kelvin is absent for this item. Councilmember Alexander?
Aye.
Okay, motion passes unanimously.
The resolution that we have just adopted calls for elections within the property to be annexed to CFD number 2019-1 to approve such annexation and to authorize the levy of the special tax in accordance with the rate and method of apportionment to provide certain services within such property, which is to be held at this time by the city clerk.
All ballots have been cast in connection with the election for CFD number 2019-1, and the election is now closed. Each of the ballot propositions have been approved by more than 2/3 of the votes cast in the elections for CFD number 2018-1.
Having received a certificate of the city clerk certifying the results of the election, I would entertain a motion to approve resolution number 2022-115 of the Mayor and City Council of the City of San Bernardino, California, declaring election results for Community Facilities District number 2019-1, Maintenance Services Annexation number 19. Is there a motion?
I'll move it.
Motion by Councilmember Charette.
Second.
Second by Councilmember Ibarra. Is there any further discussion? Hearing none, we'll proceed to the voice vote, please.
Councilmember Sanchez?
Yes.
Councilmember Ibarra?
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem?
Yes.
Councilmember Charette?
Yes.
Councilmember Alexander? Okay, motion passes unanimously.
I would now ask for a motion to waive further reading and introduce by title only an ordinance number MC-1585 of the Mayor and City Council of the City of San Bernardino, California, amending ordinance number MC-1522 and levying special taxes to be collected during the fiscal year 2022-2023 to pay the annual costs of the maintenance and servicing of landscaping, lighting, water quality improvements, graffiti, street sweeping, parks and trail maintenance, a reserve fund for capital replacement, and administrative expenses with respect to the City of San Bernardino Community Facilities District number 2019-1. Is there a motion? Motion by Councilmember Charette.
Second.
Second by Councilmember Sanchez. Is there any further discussion? Hearing none, we'll proceed to the voice vote, please.
Councilmember Sanchez?
Yes.
Councilmember Ibarra?
Yes.
Councilmember, I'm sorry, Mayor Pro Tem?
Yes.
Councilmember Charette?
Yes.
Councilmember Alexander? Motion passes unanimously.
Thank you very much. Moving on to item number 14, annexation proceedings and elections for City of San Bernardino Community Facilities District number 2019-1. I'm sorry? Okay. The public hearing is to consider annexation. The public hearing is to consider annexation proceedings and elections for City of San Bernardino Community Facilities District number 2019-1, annexation number 20. The public hearing is now open. The time is approximately 10:03. I will defer at this time to Public Works for staff for comment. Is that
Yes.
appropriate?
Yes.
Okay. Thank you.
Staff would like to continue this item to the next meeting, please. July 20th.
I have a motion by Councilmember Charette.
I'll second.
Second by Councilmember Ibarra to continue to the next meeting. Is that correct?
July 20th, yes.
Okay. Could we go ahead and proceed with a voice vote?
Councilmember Sanchez? Yes. Councilmember Ibarra?
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem?
Yes.
Councilmember Charette?
Yes.
Councilmember Alexander? Motion passes unanimously.
Thank you, council members. Next item, number 15. The annexation proceedings and elections for City of San Bernardino Community Facilities District number 2019-1, annexation number 23. The public hearing is to consider annexation proceedings and elections for City of San Bernardino Community Facilities District number 2019-1. The public hearing is now open. The time is approximately 10:05. I will defer to Public Works staff for comment, please.
Staff would like to move this item also, continue this item to the next meeting.
Is there a motion by a council member to move?
Second.
A motion by Councilmember Ibarra, seconded by Councilmember Sanchez. Could we please have a voice vote?
Councilmember Sanchez? Yes. Councilmember Ibarra?
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem?
Yes.
Councilmember Charette?
Yes.
Councilmember Alexander? Motion passes unanimously.
Okay, and does that conclude? I'm sorry, I'm going
That
through this.
concludes
That
public
concludes it.
hearing, and we're off to consent
Off to
calendar.
consent here. Okay, I will ask council members, please, if you have an item to pull. I will go down, I'll start from the 7th Ward. Councilmember Alexander, any items that need to be pulled?
22.
22. Councilmember Calvin, Councilmember Charette, none? Councilmember Ibarra?
None.
None. Councilmember Sanchez?
Which one's the Community Facilities District?
We just completed those.
There was one on consent. Is it 24? 19, just a question. Yeah.
Move the balance.
Second.
Ms. City Attorney, I have just a quick question on item number 31. I don't know if I need to recuse myself. This is really, it encompasses various locations in the city. One just happens to be within 500 feet of, do I need to recuse myself? This is.
I would advise you to recuse yourself if the public improvement is within 500 feet of any property you own or lease.
Okay, then I will pull item number 31 for purposes of recusing myself.
You don't have to pull. If you wanted to, just for purposes of voting on number 31, hand that over to Councilmember Charette. You could vote on it. For a consent calendar item that is not pulled, you do not have to leave the dais.
Okay, so then
So
I will.
my recommendation would be to have Councilmember Charette handle the vote on 31 by itself.
Okay, then I will heed
But
your
just don't vote-
legal advice.
just don't vote on it.
Okay, thank you very much. Is there a motion to approve the balance?
Second.
Motion by Councilmember Charette, seconded by Sanchez. If we could please have a vote for the balance.
Councilmember Sanchez?
Yes.
Councilmember Ibarra?
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem?
Yes.
Councilmember Charette?
Yes.
Councilmember Kelvin?
Yes.
Councilmember Alexander? Motion passes unanimously for consent.
Thank you. We have one item that was pulled by Councilmember Alexander, item number 22, approving job classifications and amending the salary schedule. Councilmember Alexander.
Yes, thank you very much. I was looking at this as we went deeper of this last meeting. Councilmember Sanchez brought out the fact that, these agency directors. What just happened to my? I'm sorry. Our screens just went away. Okay, so I was going over this, and I see all these agency directors, and then I see all these blank directorships after that. And we said the last time we spoke that there were going to be no more, because I asked the question, no more employees. I said, are we hiring any more employees? Or are we going to get ourselves together and then coalesce the ship and stop flying? What is your saying? Building it as we fly. But we're going to stop doing that. And then now I get this, and we got 3 agencies, and it looks like deputy directors. Because that's what it looks like. It looks like you're putting these guys and you're having 3 deputy directors, and instead of just asking us for us. First of all, I really don't like, Mr. Field, when you put this on the consent calendar. You could have talked to us about this. The consent calendar is like you're trying to slide it through and we're not going to read it. And, you know, you might be right, but this, you're leaving, and let me ask you this, you're leaving three director positions open according to your backup document.
Councilmember Alexander, if I may.
Yeah, go ahead.
So we're not adding anything. There isn't a cost. There's a retitling of positions. So you know how we have the Director of Community and Economic Development Director, the Director of Public Works. And we already have director positions that oversee multiple divisions and departments. So what we're proposing is to create a similar umbrella for administrative services comprised of IT, finance, and HR, reporting to an agency director of administrative services. So we're not creating additional deputies. We're not creating additional positions. And then what we would do is reclassify the finance director into the agency director, provided that it's approved. And then those positions remain vacant and available on the salary schedule for future use. But they're not funded.
I read it. You said exactly what the backup report said, and that's great. But what you are creating is like deputy city managers, is because they're all reporting to one person, right? I'm trying. If I didn't, I had it all.
We're not creating deputy city managers.
No, you're naming it.
We're using. Well, we're
You're
using a
reclassifying.
different title.
Right. You can
Correct.
tomato. But what you're still doing is you're having people report. You're having them report, and maybe I'm the only one that sees this, but you're having them report like a deputy city manager.
We're not using the title in lieu of a deputy city manager because we already have an existing structure that supports that.
Right, but they're still doing the job thereof because they're all reporting to that one person, and you just reclassified it nicely as an agency director because you're leaving their titles open, and you said it's not leaving any cost. So in the future, if you wanted to, that person, you could hire a public works director. You could hire a CDE director.
We wouldn't.
Because you're not eliminating the job.
We wouldn't be able to because we're reclassifying that budget. So there wouldn't be a budget to support. That would be up to you to decide at a future date if that's the direction that you wanted to go. But that is not what's being presented before you tonight.
Right, but you could if you wanted to, because you left it open. So if you were trying to create tomatoes, if you were trying to create that agency director, you should have eliminated that position. But you didn't. You left it open because that person is still going to work here.
One last comment. So the salary schedule consists of titles and positions that are not funded, will not be funded. So it's a resource document that's available for the city. So we have a variety of job descriptions and salary ranges that exist that are currently not funded, not being used, but are available on the salary schedule. It's a resource document.
Yeah, and I understand it. I still don't like the way you did this, and it's just me, because you put it on the consent calendar. That's just not bueno. But okay, that's all I got.
Move approval.
Yes, a simple case study would be our finance director. If there's anyone who can do multiple jobs at once, it's Barbara Whitehorn. She's very capable, and I don't think anyone said otherwise. But her plate is pretty full, and I'll do a little question and answer. Right now, HR department doesn't report up to Barbara Whitehorn, as of right now, right?
Not formally, no.
Okay, but she will under this new structure.
Correct.
Okay, so there's no we haven't done a comping class study on this position because the position hasn't existed. But it's going to go, it's being created, it's going to go into the ledger, and then a couple months down the line, we'll do a class and comp study, and we'll find out what a deputy city manager makes in another city, and that's what we're going to have to pay. Is this a streamlined version? Can I support this? I think so. But there's two issues I have, and one Councilmember Alexander brought up. If you're going to restructure the city's reporting, or basically the city government's structure, it shouldn't be coming before us in the form of a consent item, and especially not the first time, which I don't think had anything describing what those new positions would be doing. So just out of principle, and I'm committing right now that I will support this structure, but I want this, and this needs to be a little slap on the hand, this needs to come back as a full discussion item at the next council meeting with these, so I'm ready to approve, what item is it? 22. I'm ready to approve 4, 5, 6, 7, and 8. Bring back 1, 2, and 3 as a discussion item at the next council meeting, and I'm ready to approve it, but I want a full, well-vetted staff report.
That's fine. Can I address a couple of these things, though, real quickly? Okay, first of all, the CED director and the public works director already are essentially in this. This is just recognizing the function that those two individuals fulfill now. It's just, it's a rebadging, if you will. It doesn't change any other aspect of their job duties or their salaries or anything else. They've been functioning in this capacity. It just recognizes them as such. It draws a distinction between somebody who's running multiple departments as opposed to somebody who's just running one. Mm-hmm. So this is not a change in their duties in any way, shape, or form. It's simply a rebadging. Now, with respect to the administrative services director, I think it's sort of similar. We would, and to address Councilman Alexander's comments, I would say this: there is no chance that we would be able to fill any of these positions without coming back through the budget, because what will happen is we're not going to have these positions funded. They will still exist on the books, but they're not funded. There's a lot of unfunded positions in any government organization that exist, but simply are not funded. It's for convenience.
I know we have the employee ledger that has all those people. Some of these positions we've essentially eliminated through a budget process, but right. You're creating. You're not taking away. You're not defunding. What you're doing here is you're creating line items in this employee position ledger. And that's something that should not have come back on a consent.
That's okay. I mean, I guess maybe we just have a little bit of a difference of opinion on that, which is fine. I mean, it's informed discussion, right? So there is very common. One of the things that can happen, especially in a growing or regrowing, in this instance regrowing, because we were big and now we're small, we're getting bigger again, is you want to retain some flexibility. I mean, I can tell you that I would never intend to, assuming this ever passes, to come in and say, okay, now we've hornswoggled the council into approving the agency director for internal services, we also want to bring back a finance director position. That's not going to happen. I'm not going to do that. We're telling you that's not going to happen. So we feel like we are adequately staffed in finance, and with Barbara's leadership to run both. She's got a budget director. She's got a deputy director. She is adequately staffed for the size of the city organization, the size of our budget, and she can do both. So that's the basis of this request. So we are convinced absolutely that this is not only not causing a problem, it actually leads to efficiencies, so that our internal service functions are all led from one person, by one position, as opposed to 3. And it just leads to additional efficiency and uniformity of direction. So that's the basis upon which we embarked on this mission in the first place, is to do that, is to make things more efficient, not less so. And there's no attempt to, I'm a little concerned about the representation that this in some way, shape, or form designed to mislead the council. That is absolutely, I'll say emphatically, not the case. We're not trying to mislead the council. We're not trying to trick anyone.
Does that conclude your?
Yeah. So I think I had that motion. So look, like I said, I'm committed to supporting it, but this needs to be a discussion. So I would say that half our colleagues did not know what was transpiring here with the first 3. those first three line items on item 22. So I would approve, again, 4, 5, 6, 7, and 8, and move to continue 1, 2, and 3 to the next meeting as a discussion item.
There is a motion on the floor by Councilmember Charette that has not received a second.
Second that motion, Councilmember Sanchez.
Okay, so there is a motion by Councilmember Sanchez, seconded by Councilmember Alexander. My
Mayor Pro
apologies.
Tem.
There still are some speakers here. My apologies, folks. Councilmember Sandra Ibarra.
Thank you, Mayor Pro Tem. I list, I'm going to try to let you know what pages they are. We have before us, starting on package page 698, all the way to page 704. There are several deputy directors listed on that list that have not come before us for approval. And I want a clarification right now, the difference between being called a director and an agency director as well for items 1, 2, and 3. I'm seeing here, and if my colleagues are okay, we need to also take out items 6 and 7. Number 6 is saying increase the salary range for the classification of a deputy director / city planner. Number 7, increase the salary range for the classification of a deputy director of public works city engineer. If my colleagues are okay, we would need further discussion on differentiating agency director title from director as we have them currently. And that would be items 1, 2, and 3. In addition, bring back items 6 and 7 as well for further discussion of what all these deputy directors are doing differently than our current directors. I also see there on those pages I listed earlier, deputy director under city manager as well. I cannot in good faith approve this consent item as it is. And if my colleagues are okay, I'd like to add items 6 and 7 for further discussion before we approve this project. This, not project, the classifications, because the way I'm seeing the staff report here, it says staff is requesting the addition of job classifications to enhance and streamline operations and service levels, and increasing compensation ranges of 2 positions for recruitment and retention of experienced and qualified staff. We are adding positions. It's not that they're vacant right now. We are adding them. This is the way that this came about to me is that we are adding more layers to management and executive levels of operations within our city. And I cannot, once again, I cannot in good faith approve items 1, 2, 3, and 6 and 7 tonight. Can I get a second to that amendment to add 6 and 7 as well from any of my colleagues? Our deputy directors.
So can I respond to that one? So the reason for those are not new positions or existing positions. We're just making the salary ranges competitive. This is not a new position. Those exist today. So but we're not competitive. We have candidates for these positions, but we are not competitive salary-wise. So that's the reason for these being included. It has nothing to do with it. It's not a new position. It's been a position that's been on the books. We've been trying to fill it. Can't fill it because the salary is too low.
The way it's worded on page 690, it says that you are requesting the addition of job classifications. It's specific. That's how it states on my end. That's what I'm reading right now, word for word. You are adding job classifications.
Councilmember Ibarra, are you referring to the background section of the staff report?
No, agenda packet, page 690. The first page, there's a recommendation of these positions that I put in question, 1, 2, 3, 6, and 7. And below it, under background, it says staff is requesting the addition of job classifications.
I know that there is one that's being requested that was previously funded, and that is the animal license inspector. It was funded with the mid-year report, and what's being brought back before you is adding that position and the corresponding salary range onto the salary schedule.
Correct, and that, I didn't question that item, that's item 4 before me, but 1, 2, and 3, 6, and 7 are additions. And when I look at the salary schedules on the pages that I mentioned earlier, there are quite a bit of deputy directors on that list. I want to say, I think I read 4 or 5 in there. And these are, deputy city clerk, we have those. Deputy city manager, deputy director of finance, deputy director of housing and homelessness, deputy director of human resources, deputy director of information technology, deputy director of parks, recreation, deputy director of public works, and the list goes on. It's quite a bit on this schedule that you have before us.
That's correct. So that's the salary schedule that gets brought before you every time a position is added or deleted. And so that's the salary schedule. That's not positions that we're adding. The positions that are being added, those are identified in the staff report and in the corresponding resolution that we are required to adopt with every iteration of the salary schedule.
Okay, so if I can reword then the motion that I had, is that council, that we proceed with approving numbers 4 and 5, and that's it for tonight.
So this is really important. Those items are to, if you read the recommendation, this is the motion. The rest of the stuff is not in the motion. Is to increase the salary ranges for the classification of deputy director, city planner, and increase the salary range for the classification of deputy director, public works, and city engineer. That's it. Those are not, so they're not new positions. It's just changing the salary range, and that's all. And again, it's to make us competitive so we can fill those positions, and that's it.
And their name and their titles are being changed also. I don't remember having a
No,
deputy
they're
director,
not.
city.
They're not being changed. These positions have been in the budget for some time. We just haven't been able to fill them.
Okay, yeah.
They've existed. They exist and have existed for some time.
I still can move forward with approving as it's presented.
Okay. So just to regroup, we did have a substitute motion by Councilmember Ibarra, seconded by Councilmember Alexander, but it sounds as though you're withdrawing that motion and presenting a new motion. Is that accurate?
Are you amending your substitute motion?
Are you amending
Yeah,
your
the
substitute
substitute motion to approve 4 and 5 with items 1, 2, 3, 5, 1, 2, 3, 6, 7, and 8 to come before us for further discussion under staff presentation, not consent calendar.
Is there a second to the amended substitute motion? Not hearing one. It falls back to the original motion Councilmember, I believe it was Sanchez, made originally. I see Councilmember Damon Alexander is the next speaker. Councilmember?
No, I just want to second that motion, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, yes, bring back 1, 2, and 3.
Councilmember Kimberly Calvin.
Along with being tired, I'm extremely confused now. And then again, I'm not. So if staff could, please, for my colleagues, readdress items 1, 2, and 3 and what you are actually asking of us, because I do believe that we all then agree on 5, 6, 7, and 8, 4, 5, 6, 7, and 8. 1, 2, and 3. Could you please?
What we're proposing is the addition of a title, a classification title of agency director. Currently, we use director of, right? So we have a director of community and economic development that I believe we can all agree, right? They have code, planning, building and safety, various disciplines under one director. The same could be said for the director of public works, right? It's not just engineering. It's parks, landscape, streets. So we're using director. We're using director. All we're saying is, could we use agency director to distinguish what further, because we already do operationally, right? That's the basis. We currently have multi-levels of directors because not all directors are compensated the same. These higher level directors are compensated at a higher salary range. So to create and enhance operations and continue to group like type activities, what we're also pitching tonight is let's just say a director of administrative services. We just so happen that we're using the title of agency director. So with the agency director of administrative services, the basis would be to create an umbrella, the agency, to group the administrative type departments. These are departments that provide mainly customer service internally to other city departments. These are our internal services. And so by putting them under one umbrella, we hope to gain the same operational efficiencies that we have in community and economic development or public works. That is item 1, 2, and 3.
So then what's the motivation? Because, I mean, we have a public works director. We have a public works director, and there's this...
No, we still have Councilmember Calvin still has the floor.
They were both getting ready to ask that same question, so it's okay.
Okay. Councilmember Sanchez, now please, you have the floor.
Yeah, so look, the Community and Economic Development Director, you're telling me that they're not picking up any positions, and from what the description has been, that's not the case. But there's talk of streamlining. What are we streamlining if we're just changing a title?
Administrative services. That's the major.
The administrative services is the umbrella that covers, in the case of the Public Works Director, is operations, facilities maintenance.
No. No. So what we're trying to do, when I say administrative services, I don't mean the admin within the existing departments, right? I'm using CED as a model or Public Works as a model to say we can group the administrative departments. What I mean by that, that's IT, that's HR, that's finance under one umbrella. We're calling it an agency. That's all it is. We're not making changes to the director of IT or the director of HR. It's merely to create additional efficiencies within.
Explain to me how those efficiencies are, because you keep on talking about streamlining and efficiencies.
So it'll encourage to open up the lines of communication, right? Because the 3 departments, let's just take the enterprise resource planning system that we're about to embark in the implementation. So by having the departments report through one director, we're going to start moving faster and making progress. Or say, like, similar to negotiations, there's a lot of collaboration between finance and HR. With that enterprise resource planning system, IT, HR, and finance are key departments to move that software forward. It's not uncommon to have an administrative services umbrella at other cities. Other cities have used it. Maybe they don't call it an agency director, maybe they call it a director of administrative services. We wanted to use the title of agency director just to further distinguish. We could have called it director of administrative services, and that's what would be before you.
So that's the one that really changes, the one on the administrative director. But now talk to me about the agency director of Public Works, Operations, and Maintenance. What did they pick up?
Nothing's changing.
So nothing's changing.
Nothing's changing. It's just
But it had to come up.
It's retitling so that we could have parity and yes, so that we have apples to apples and we're treating everyone the same, right? Because otherwise we're going to have a weird mix and blend of titles.
Uh-huh. Well, we've turned this into a real discussion item, so I'm going to approve it tonight, but I'm keeping a close eye on this one, because I know you promised us no budget amendment, but I see it coming. But I'll move to approve the staff recommendation.
Second.
Second, then. Third.
He did.
Yeah.
Comments, and then I said move for approval.
That was different. He's moving for full approval.
That's what I was saying.
Okay, but
I don't care who did it.
I guess we did had our discussion like we did before, but as I said it before, we wouldn't have to do this if this wasn't a consent item. And I heard what you said, but it doesn't look like that.
Our apologies on that. We'll endeavor not to do that again.
It really doesn't look like that. Thank you.
So we have a motion on the floor. Please refresh my memory, Ms. City Clerk. Is there a second?
Councilmember Sanchez, you're withdrawing your motion, correct, to,
I'll withdraw my motion and make a motion to approve the staff recommendation.
Is there a second to that motion?
I'll second it.
Seconded by Councilmember Charette. Ms. City Clerk, could we please proceed with the vote? Oh, is there still more? Okay. Oh. Council members, please cast your votes. Electronically, yes.
motion passes 5-1 with Councilmember Ibarra voting in opposition.
I will temporarily hand off to Councilmember Charette.
Does he have to actually leave, Sonia? Does he have to actually leave the dais?
No, he does not. All you have to do, because it's consent calendar item,
Okay,
all you have to do is
so
vote.
do I have a motion on item number 31?
Move to approve.
Motion by Ibarra. Do we have a second? I'll second it. Call for the question.
All right, we'll do a voice vote on this one since he's going to recuse himself. Councilmember Sanchez?
Yes.
Councilmember Ibarra?
Yes.
Councilmember Charette?
Yes.
Councilmember Kelvin?
Yes.
Councilmember Alexander? Okay, motion passes unanimously, and Councilmember Figueroa recused himself from this item.
Thank you for that. Next, we have items to be considered for future meetings.
I'm sorry. I believe that Councilman Sanchez had pulled 19 for a question.
It wasn't a poll, it was just a question.
Or ask, yeah, I wanted to ask a question.
We can get our esteemed in-house expert on this. If you can please describe the location? The taxing location or the taxing apparatus area. Where is it?
Good evening, Mayor Pro Tem, Council. Shane Spicer, Spicer Consulting. You're referring to the location of the property for the annexation in question? Yes.
Annexation question.
Okay. It is located, let's see. It's It contains 1.05 gross acres of residential property, and it is located at let me get the project map.
You know, I'm just trying to find the north and south boundaries for this property. You know, I see here is between Meridian Avenue and Marvin Drive.
Yes, so it is east of Marvin, or I'm sorry, west of Marvin and north of Meridian.
No, Marvin and Meridian are shown here that they run parallel.
Yes, it's in between the two.
So what other streets interact?
Let me get the boundary map. So it's a tentative track map 20258, and it is north of, it's hard to read that.
Yeah,
Yeah, I concluded the tentative track map. Yeah, it is south of 6th Street.
that's not 7th Ward. That's not 7th Ward then. But no, the map says it's North Meridian and North Marvin Drive. In 7th Ward, does Councilmember Alexander know where those streets are?
Okay, I think I've had my concerns addressed.
Are there any other questions? Okay.
All right. Okay, items to be considered for future meetings. Item number 39, Elected Officials Compensation Advisory Commission. Councilmember Alexander.
Yes. Oh, thank you. I appreciate it. 39. 40?
39. It says Elected Officials Compensation Advisory Commission. Councilmember Alexander. Oh, okay, well then, I have some.
It's a long night, Mayor Pro Tem. I understand, sir. It's a long night. I
long
got
night.
you. Yes, thank you.
It says 39 on mine.
17 years, right? Did you say move to approve, Councilman Sanchez?
Yes.
Okay.
What is it?
You gonna second?
Don't we already have it?
It's right there.
He moved 40 to move to approve.
It's item 40, Mayor Pro Tem. My apologies. It's incorrect on your
Oh,
script.
explain it to me? Okay.
So Councilmember Alexander, please.
Oh, okay. Being on the election officials compensation advisory committee, brought up recommendations that certain items of the council should get. They bring up our compensation, ladies and gentlemen. So with that being said, they brought forth several recommendations. We just want to hear what the election officials compensation advisory committee have to say about the council.
Okay, is there a motion to approve?
There is a motion.
Second.
The city clerk, please.
Councilmember Sanchez?
Yes.
Councilmember Ibarra?
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem?
Yes.
Councilmember Charette?
Yes.
Councilmember Calvin?
Yes.
Councilmember Alexander?
Aye.
Okay, item passes unanimously.
Thank you. Next item, and this one I'll get correct this time unless something else has changed on here. Item number 41, renaming Gutierrez Park to Gutierrez Park on Route 66. Councilmember Calvin.
Second.
Okay. There's a
Councilmember Sanchez?
Yes.
Councilmember Ibarra?
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem?
yes.
Councilmember Charette?
Yes.
Councilmember Kelvin?
Yes.
Councilmember Alexander?
Aye.
Passes unanimously.
Okay. And finally, here we have item number 42, censure of the mayor. Councilmembers Calvin and Alexander.
Move to approve.
Move to approve of the comment.
We do nothing.
I was going to withdraw Councilmember Sanchez. Based on since the election has done what it's done, and based on all the mayor's comments about us being a do-nothing council and calling him out on when he called Ward 1 disgusting and giving him an opportunity, it harms the city. For those listening, there's like 3 offices the general public knows, and that's pretty much it. They know the President of the United States, they know the governor, and they know the mayor. And when the mayor says something, if they don't know who the mayor is, it's impactful. If the mayor says, hey, this council's do nothing, or anything else that's harmful to the city, or a ward doesn't look well, it's impactful to the city, because if they don't know him, they believe it.
And that's why I was bringing it up, because what his words are, they mean something, just like our words mean something, and we're responsible for what we say. We have not only a fiduciary responsibility, but we have a responsibility to measure our words, as they say. The scripture says, season your tongue. So, and the municipal code says that you have to safeguard the public. And what you say doesn't always safeguard the public. So with that being said, he's violated several issues of that, and it was necessary to keep him accountable, as all of us accountable, if we should do something like that. We all measure our words. We all take responsibility for the 31,500 or so responsible people that we have under our leadership. But with that said, Councilman Sanchez, I was going to bring it back. But if you push it forward, I'm not going to stop you, council member.
Well, now I don't know what to do. I will make a comment, though, and that'll be it. There were two competing narratives this election. One coming from the mayor, that the council was the one creating the toxicity at City Hall. And the other one was that coming from the council, that it was the mayor causing the toxicity at City Hall. The council, the voters out there spoke very clearly and very loud that they believe this council, and they took us at our word that it's the mayor that needed to go in order for the city to move forward. So we have a real responsibility and a huge task before us, now that the mayor is going to be gone, to show them, guess what? The mayor's gone and things are moving forward in the right direction, or things are moving forward. So we are tasked with that now. They believed us. Let's not betray their trust. And 2 years from now, they think, oh, you know what? It was the council. It was the council that was creating the toxicity at City Hall. So let's close this sad chapter in our city's history and move forward. I don't think censure is necessary. The man may have already left the country. So I think it's useless and it's a waste of our time. I would just like to move forward.
But we do have to censure any comments that he makes like that to us publicly. He's
No,
going
I'm fine.
to come back next month.
If I may.
Are we
If I
reaching
may.
any, I will say yes, but I just want to make sure to keep us within certain guardrails here.
Right. I believe that, as Councilman Sanchez has stated, the people have recognized one thing, and that is that the council was worthy of receiving their votes in order for us to continue the great work that we have been able to do, and this along with the entire staff here at the City of San Bernardino. And I think that needs to speak more volume than our censoring him. I believe that if that language continues, that type of narrative continues, I think that we just allow our being seated here and understanding that we're going to continue to be seated here is what the message that is sent. Now, along with that being said, you're right, Councilman Sanchez and Alexander, that we do have an obligation to the community to make sure that we are worthy of their votes, and we need to practice that every single day. And I think that with that, enough will be said. Thank you very much.
But if he goes off the rails, and if he goes off the rails and his conduct is not according to the office of which he beholds, then I will bring this back.
Sounds fair.
If I may, one more comment.
Please.
It's just, I think that if he does get to that point again, like he did at the last meeting, we have to have something in place to censure him right there and then, instead of waiting to put it on the agenda for a future meeting.
We do have a code of conduct
do
that
that.
we have to adhere to, and
Okay.
there are certainly penalties and fines that can be issued as well at that point, if it does become disruptive. And so perhaps maybe a review of the code of conduct during the meetings would be beneficial to the council as well, to see
And I'd
what
be happy
actions
to
can be
talk
taken.
with staff about reviewing the code of conduct and see what our remedies are. I've had other experiences where we've placed the code of conduct up on the dais, or up where you are, up there. We can do that so that you can remind you're out of order in section 3. And I can give staff some options that you can look at. You would not be able to automatically immediately censure because anyone who is censured is provided due process. That's why we had a public hearing the last time.
We can then ask for a resignation.
And yes, and also just be mindful of the fact that one does not give up their free speech rights. You don't in asking for resignation, nor does the mayor in having an opinion. Although that opinion could be in violation of your rules, you can call him out of order. But we do need to be mindful of First Amendment rights.
So what is the council's will with item number 42? What is the action? What action are we taking here?
Then I will move that I withdraw this from item to discussion.
Okay. So I don't think that requires a second or anything. Yeah, it's just removed, is my understanding. Okay. All right, with that, we will go ahead and proceed to adjournment. The next joint regular meeting of the Mayor and City Council and the Mayor and City Council acting as the successor agency to the Redevelopment Agency will be held on Wednesday, July 20, 2022 in the Council Chamber located at 555 West 6th Street, San Bernardino, California, 92401. Closed session will begin at 5:30 p.m. and open session will begin at 7 p.m.